All right, everyone, thank you. It's exactly 1:30, and we'll call to order. So first off, we'll start by recognizing that we're conducting our business today on the territories of the Hoothpatchisitt and the Shot First Nations, principally, because that's where our boardroom is. However, we do our meeting in a hybrid format, which means we have people here in the boardroom as well as people online, and so they may be coming to you from a myriad of other traditional territories as well. The true fact, though, is that we appreciate and affirm the fact that we're conducting our business on that territory and that we should now make introductions to ourselves. We do live stream these videos on our website through YouTube, so you can get there through our website at acrd.bc.ca or the channel that we operate on YouTube. If you had pre-registered, you could actually attend via Zoom, but that's neither here nor there now. So let's do some rounds of introductions. First, we'll do inside the boardroom, and then we'll go online, and then we'll go from there. So if we can start with Heather, please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Heather Zenner, Manager of Administrative Services.
Good afternoon, Debbie Hager, Councillor for the City of Port Alberni and Vice Chair of the Alberni-Quidcot Regional District Board of Directors.
Good afternoon, Aklama Penny Cote. I am the Electoral Area Director for Sprout Lake.
Good afternoon, Cal Roberts, Alternate Director for Area C.
Good afternoon, I'm Mariah Coots here for the Wet'suwet'en Tribe Government. Happy to be here.
Good afternoon, Susan Roth for Beaver Creek.
Good afternoon, Mike Sparrow, and I represent Cherry Creek.
Good afternoon, Kirsten Johnson for Toplat Nation.
Good afternoon, Daniel Saya, the CAO for the ACRD.
And hi there, Alex Dyer, General Manager of Planning and Development.
Good afternoon, Charlie Stewart, Regional Fire Services Manager.
Good afternoon, Cynthia Dick, General Manager of Administrative Services.
Okay, then we'll go online. Bob, please start.
Good afternoon, everyone. Bob Beckett, representing Area A, Bamfield.
Great, and Director Boyko.
Fred Boyko, Electoral Area Director for Beaufort. Thank you.
I think the only one else is Shari.
Good afternoon, Shari Minions, Mayor for the City of Port Alberni.
Okay, and Oklahoma Sayachat, Shishtuk Shutl. My name is John Jack. I'm the Director for Hawaiian First Nations as well as the Chairperson. And before we begin with the approval of the agenda, we'd like to take some time not only to recognize the business of the territory whose business we're doing, but we'd also like to recognize some long service and great service. So I'd like to turn it over to Daniel if possible.
Thank you, Chair Jack. Today, I want to take a moment to recognize and honor an extraordinary individual in the community, an extraordinary member of our team here at the ACRD. His name is synonymous with fire service in the Alberni Valley, and that is Charlie Stark. This is Charlie's last board meeting as an employee of the ACRD, as he is officially retiring December 31st, 2025, and officially leaving, I guess, on vacation, but December 19th will be his last day in the office, and we are sad to see him go. Charlie's journey in emergency and community fire services began over 4 decades ago. I was going to make a comment about what I was doing over 4 decades ago, but I'd rather stay quiet on that. In 1983, Charlie became the fire chief for the Beaver Creek Volunteer Fire Department, and he held that role for 36 years. Under his leadership, the Beaver Creek Volunteer Fire Department grew into a well-respected and reliable force and an important presence in community safety, not only in Beaver Creek, but in the Valley. When he retired from that role, he got hired officially by the ACRD in 2020. And Charlie took on the role of Regional Fire Services Manager for the ACRD, supporting multiple departments and sharing his wealth of knowledge and his mentorship. Charlie has been a mentor, he's been a leader, he's been a steady hand, and he's been committed to response excellence, community service, and safety. And this has shaped not only fire service in Beaver Creek, but fire services across the region. He leaves behind the legacy of collaboration, professionalism, and care for the people of the region. Charlie's somebody that you just cannot rattle under any circumstances. And I feel like I've seen many circumstances since I've started here at the ACRD, and Charlie remains cool as a cucumber all the time. And that is contagious in all the right ways, especially when we talk about the activation of EOCs like we saw this summer with the Mount Underwood fire. Charlie often said he was proud to serve the community and his members, and this pride shows in all that he's done and all of the accomplishments that we've seen. On behalf of the ACRD and the entire Alberni Valley, I want to thank you, Charlie, for 43 years of unwavering service, and we wish you all the best in retirement. We hope that you can find some time to relax, but strongly suspect that you will pop up somewhere volunteering in the community and continuing to be that positive force for good and community benefit. So, Charlie, we do have a small parting gift for you on behalf of the ACRD, and if we could give you a round of applause and maybe snap a few shots, it would be appreciated.
Let's give it up. Alrighty, over there. Yeah. Do you have any words, Charlie? Do you want to say something? There you go. 10 minutes, please.
And not much for word. Just thank you for the acknowledgement. Wasn't chief in '83, I became chief in '92, so I just have a couple years. Well, you're close enough, Daniel. It's been a pleasure to serve, and I'm very grateful for the time I've had, and the time here at the regional district seems very short. I told Heather when she was part of hiring me that it would be a year and a half, a couple of years, and this is year 6, so it's time to go. It's been some time. It was time to leave the fire department when I started saying, I used to work with your grandfather. So that being the case, thank you very much. It's been great to work here. The team here is fantastic. The collaboration is super. Great respect for everything everybody does here. Thank you.
Alrighty, well, thank you everyone for that. That brings us to regular business now. So the next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. So do we have any additions of items, deletions of items, or other materials? Dr. Sparrow, please go ahead.
Thank you for that. I'd like to add an item, I guess maybe about social media and what we post and how we post it, if we could do that.
Hey, let's add that to... Actually, do you think we could add that to other reports? I guess it doesn't really matter because we could put it on late business and it'd be the same thing. We'll add it to 12A. Social media conduct? Discussion. Okay. Does anyone else have any other modifications to the agenda? Are there any late items? Nope, no late items. Would you like to move the agenda as amended, Director Sparrow? All right, thank you. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Dr. Roberts. Any further comments? Seeing none. All those in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion carried. Alrighty, that brings us into item 3, which is declarations. These are conflicts of interest, apparent conflicts of interest, or gifts exceeding $250 in value. Dr. Haggard, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to declare a conflict of interest with 5B and 9G because of my personal relationship with the applicant.
Okay, thank you very much. That brings us in, are there any other declarations? Okay, so when we get to 5B, so after agricultural update is over, we'll take a minute or two to let you head out. Okay. All right, that brings us to item 4, which is the adoption of minutes. Oh, sorry, before we get to item 4, we usually talk about when people might need to head out. My understanding is Director Roberts might need to leave by 3 o'clock. Is that correct? Okay, so we'll do a check-in at 2:30 to make sure your items, any items you want to speak to, we can get to. And Director Roth,
I need to leave by 4 too.
4 o'clock? Okay, so keep an eye on the agenda, see if there's anything you want to speak to, and then we can go from there. Okay, item 4 is the adoption of minutes. 4A is the Board of Directors meeting minutes for November 26, 2025. Would you like to move adoption? Thank you, Dr. Johnson, seconded by Dr. Sparrow. Any comments, errors, omissions, etc.? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Alrighty, that brings us to item B, which is the Sprout Lake Advisory Planning Commission meeting dated November 24th, 2025. Dr. Cote, would you like to move that?
I put them all together if you want to move all of them to be received in one motion.
I'll move the minutes of the Sprout Lake Advisory Planning Commission meeting November 24th, 2025 be received.
Thank you. We have a seconder. Thank you, Dr. Sparrow. Any further comments? All those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. Okay, item C is the Alberni Valley and Banfield Banfield Committee meeting, November 26, 2025. Would I like to move adoption? Thank you, Dr. Cote. Seconded by Dr. Sparrow. All those in favor? All opposed? The motion carried. Sorry, I got attached to the whole idea of going through the list. I didn't see the. Yeah. I would note that it is more efficient to do it your way. Okay. Next item is the Long Beach Advisory Planning Committee Commission meeting, December 1st, 2025. Would anyone like to move adoption? Thank you, Dr. Roberts, seconded by Dr. Sparrow. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. Next up is the Beaver Creek Advisory Planning Commission meeting minutes for December 2nd, 2025. Moved by Dr. Roth, seconded by Dr. Coots. Comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. And then lastly, the West Coast Committee meeting, December 3rd, 2025. Moved by Dr. Roberts, seconded by, thank you, Dr. Cote. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. Okay, we'll do it the right way next time. All right, next up is item 5, which are petitions, delegations, and presentations. Normally, we limit presentations to 10 minutes, starting from when you start. That's for your content, not the discussion afterwards. If you get close to the end of your presentation, or it looks like it, I'll probably just let you finish it out. But I will probably hold up 2 fingers or 1 finger when you have 1 or 2 minutes left. If it doesn't look like you're close to the end, I'll hit pause and ask the board to continue. They almost always say yes, so I wouldn't worry about that. So just breathe and try to speak slower than you think you should, and you'll do fine. So with that, we'll go into item A, and this is for the Upland Agricultural Consulting presenting on the Food Security Emergency Plan, the Livestock Emergency Plan, and the Agricultural Water Plan. So I'd like to thank you, Ms. Smith. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. I'm just going to set up the presentation to share. All right, there we go. Thank you very much for having me today. It's a real pleasure to be here to present these 4 projects. There are 2 food security emergency plans that we worked on. There's the Alberni Valley Livestock Emergency Plan and the Alberni Valley Agricultural Water Plan. And I will keep to 10 minutes. It's a lot of material to go through, so I've tried my best to keep things high level, but you'll see the actual reports are quite detailed. I want to acknowledge that the funding for all of these projects came from Investment Agriculture Foundation, and that foundation itself is funded through a partnership between the province and the federal government through the Sustainable Canadian Agricultural Partnership. The team that was involved in these projects was pretty big. It was myself and Amy Needham here and Anna Lewis in the room and three others, Caslin Bonner, who's a professional agrologist, Jeff Hughes-Games, who's a semi-retired drainage specialist and emergency planning specialist, and Alan Thompson, who's a water systems engineer. And so together, the six of us did the lion's share of these 4 projects. The projects themselves took close to 2 years to complete. The first kickoff for the project started last summer in June 2024. We went through several really important key milestones in order to get to where we are today. And we're happy to be on time and more importantly on budget with these projects and very excited to present them to you. I'll start off with the food security emergency plans. So these were emergency plans looking at that concept from a community level, not necessarily a household food security level, but looking at what can be done at a community level to improve food security, specifically within the perspective of an emergency. And so the goals were to really figure out what are some opportunities that the regional district could better support community food security in both emergency preparedness and response, and to look into what sort of priorities exist regarding food security improvements for both the Alberni Valley region and also West Coast communities, and then to pull together recommendations to support how community food could become more resilient across the entire region. We undertook a lot of engagement for these community food security reports. We met specifically with the Agricultural Development Committee, the Alberni Valley Food Security Society, ACRD's Emergency Management Network, and the City of Port Alberni. We also attended 3 Alberni Farmers Institute meetings in person over the last year and a half, as well as 3 Coastal Food Roundtable meetings on the West Coast over the last year and a half as well. We also undertook a survey. We conducted several interviews when it became apparent that there were individuals who were not able to attend our in-person events. And we met with First Nation communities. And really interesting for us was to be able to do a lot of farm site visits. So we could see firsthand what was happening at the farm level in terms of food production and food security. The result is over about 24 key recommendations that we've divided into 3 specific categories. The first category of recommendations is around what the regional district could do in more of a short-term planning and preparedness perspective. The second category deals more with long-term food security actions. And then lastly, we identified actions that the regional district can take specifically to support First Nations food sovereignty and emergency food security. For each recommendation, we've been able to identify who needs to be the lead, who needs to be supporting actor, what the timelines are, how much resources are involved, and what priority levels have been identified by the community. So I won't walk through all of them, but I wanted to give you some examples of what those recommendations look like. One that came to the top of the list in terms of priority was to create a food distribution strategy. What we found in talking to many of the key players is that there were inconsistencies or lack of strategy around who gets food first during an emergency. And so that became really apparent as a key need. We also found that there was a lack of backup generators in a lot of locations where cold storage exists. So during an emergency, there's a need for backup generators for power support. We talk about advocating for improved cell service, connectivity along key transportation routes, as well as expanding the current gleaning project in the Alberni Valley so that it's better able to mobilize during an emergency. And then lastly, and this is a segue into the next project, is to look at how the regional district can better support preparedness for livestock evacuations during an emergency. So moving on to the livestock emergency plan, the objective here was to look at ways that the ACRD could better support the livestock producers within the region before, during, and after an emergency. And in working with the community, we also reached out to the Ministry of Agriculture and Food to get their input as well. And we were able to pull together 17 recommendations. Most of those recommendations are for ACRD operations and planning, although a few are more directed to the farming community itself. For some examples of those recommendations, we talk about ensuring that both staff at the EOC remain knowledgeable about the farming community. I think currently that's already underway and there is a good rapport there, but it's about maintaining that. Making sure that the Farmers Institute members have access to EOC training, pre-identifying livestock relocation sites if possible, so that farmers can have a good sense as to where their animals may need to be transported during an emergency. Providing connections to existing resources such as the Fire Smart Farm and Ranch program. There's also the Premises ID program that the province runs. And really importantly is to make sure that farmers understand roles. So who's responsible for what and who is available during an emergency to support them, especially with regards to larger livestock and horses. And then the last project that I want to touch on today is the Alberni Valley Agricultural Water Plan. The objective of this project was to look at moving forward on recommendations from previous reports, such as through the Council for Agricultural Water Supply, and really starting to take a more technical look and drill down into the actual feasibility of some of the options that have been raised in the past. This project also involved a lot of engagement. We were lucky in that this topic is one of great interest to a great number of organizations and individuals, and so we didn't really have any trouble at all reaching out to any of these groups. Everybody was glad to come to the table and speak with us, which was great. So a large component of this project really was engagement, whether it was in-person meetings, phone calls, Zoom calls, interviews, making sure we had our ducks in a row with regards to water licensing questions and things of that nature. So yeah, a lot of the project timeline did involve engagement. The map here that you see in the green is the area that we ended up modeling for the agricultural water demand scenarios that we built into the report. We looked at specific feasibility options for potential supply for future water in agricultural areas. And I'm just going to go through them briefly, but I'm happy to answer any questions. We looked at large regional reservoirs and we found that the feasibility was low, not only because of the challenges involved in the cost and the engineering and finding land, but also just because there's a lot of liability involved and nobody was necessarily coming to the table and wanting to take a lead on that. With regards to diverting large amounts of water from either Great Central Lake or Sprout Lake, currently the feasibility is low. There's a lot of challenges around information about the hydrological impacts of what that would do to the current water regime. There's also important cultural values for First Nations associated with those water resources as well. And then creating a new agricultural water supply service through the ACRD doesn't seem like a necessary step at this point if some of those larger pieces aren't going to be undertaken. We also looked at the possibility of expanding groundwater wells for irrigation purposes, but based on previous work, we ruled that out quite early because there's just a lack of good understanding about what the productivity of some of the potentially large wells would produce to be able to pump water to greater areas of agricultural land. So we ruled that out as well. Creation of an irrigation district is not something that the province is willing to undertake anymore. So that was also considered low feasibility. The two medium feasibility options were to look at partnering with existing license holders such as Domtar and potentially working towards a partial share of appurtenancy with regards to water volumes and water allocation, as well as potentially reactivating some current water infrastructure such as the Mackenzie Road pump station and looking at how it might better support agricultural areas. And then the highest feasibility was looking at use of on-farm dugouts. So really providing support for local producers in coming together to create water users community frameworks and working on dugouts that could either support an individual parcel or a group of parcels. So examples of recommendations for the agricultural water plan, we really strongly advocate for establishing a multi-jurisdictional water group. So this would be taking the Council for Agricultural Water Supply and expanding its scope. We speak to the need to advocate for more information around groundwater. So a groundwater monitoring well that would be installed by the province is something that's well needed in the region. Looking at third-party hydrologist reports for proposed logging above farmland whenever possible, as a lot of the farmers in some of the valleys indicated that there were impacts from that type of activity. considering agricultural water needs, not just for the Mackenzie Road pump station, but really for any future water system upgrades, ensuring that agriculture is at the table and considered as a need. And then looking for funding to complete those hydrometric studies of both Great Central Lake, Sprout Lake, or other lake resources, so that if ever diversions were coming onto the table for decision making, you'd have the good scientific information at your fingertips. And then performing a technical review of that partial transfer that I mentioned around water licensing options. And finally, supporting landowners whenever possible and forming a water users community group for developing dugouts for irrigation purposes. And that's it. And I think I kept to the 10 minutes. So thank you very much for your time. And I'm happy to take any questions you might have.
You were within 20 seconds of being bang on. Well done. Okay, comments and questions. Dr. Roth, please go ahead.
Did you look at UNDRIP? And
We looked at a variety of provincial acts and legislation. More specifically, we were looking at the Water Sustainability Act, which itself was developed with UNDRIP in mind. So maybe not directly, but indirectly through some of the other acts and legislation that we looked at.
yeah, because I think, well, I would have liked to see more information about First Nations, and because I know there's a lot going on that actually would make a lot of that a lot different. Okay.
We did meet with Stayshot First Nation and Hupetcheseth First Nation. They were specifically key collaborators in the agricultural water plan that we developed. And Amy specifically went and met in person, and I did as well. So there was a lot of collaboration across the line from start to finish.
Great. Any further comments or questions? Director Sparrow and then Director Cote.
Did you do any studies on the water licenses that are out there now for agricultural purposes? So you know who has them and how many acre feet they have with them?
Yeah, so a lot of that information is publicly available through the Water Atlas, the BC Water Resources Atlas. We did access that, and there are maps to that effect in the agricultural water plan, so you can see all of that. We didn't tabulate it. Some of the challenges in speaking with the water, land and resource stewardship staff, they noted that even if a license has a specific allocation for specific volume, it doesn't mean it's necessarily being used to its fullest percentage. And that was exactly why we were able to come up with the opportunity to speak to the larger license holders like Domtar, because they aren't using their full allocation. So it's really hard to get a sense year to year how much water is being used. You can see how much is allocated, but not necessarily actual use.
Thank you. Director Boyko.
Thank you. My question relates more to accuracy of the data. Like, for example, you mentioned the number of farms that are out there. Would something qualify as a poultry farm that they have to have farm status in their registry be a poultry farm? Is that how you guys gather the information?
So for number of farms, yes, we were looking at current, but also future, specifically for the water plan. We did look at current farms, and we looked at 3 data sets. We looked at BC assessment, so that's the farm tax status that you speak of. We also looked at the agricultural census data, and then we of course spoke directly with the Farmers Institute and local farmers to try and get a more accurate kind of on the ground current sense of agriculture. But then we looked at potentially what could happen in the future. And for that, we looked at we had specific criteria around agricultural capability of the soil. We looked at climate data. We looked at parcel size and that sort of thing. So we didn't just take what's currently happening, but we looked at what's potentially available for farming in the future as well.
Okay. I question the accuracy of it, and maybe it's because people are not doing things and registering and getting farm status, but there is a order of magnitude higher number of people doing those activities out here that are not accounted for in this study.
Okay, I guess I'm not quite sure exactly what data you're speaking of, but I'd have to maybe check offline on that.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions? Director Cote, please go ahead.
Through the chair, thank you for these reports. Amazing, a lot of work here. Is this the completion of these reports, or is there any follow-up continuing on? There's issues that I'd like to see addressed around drought at Sprout Lake and I've heard of some requests for water, such as the Dyson Water Buffalo Farm. They'd like more water for production purposes. So things like that. Is there any, is this report just for them to be able to use, or is there any follow-up work that's coming from this? Thank you.
So the purpose of the report was to look at future potential water use across the region. We did speak with individuals and we did speak with the Dysons as well, but the objective wasn't to try to solve specific current parcel by parcel project issues. So we were looking more at forecasting into the future about what would be needed in terms of infrastructure to meet future production. Insofar as the project timeline, I can let Amy speak to that, but my understanding is that the funders need to have everything submitted by the end of this month, so it's coming to the end of the timeline.
If I can add to that, the reports that are complete, once received from the board, they do end up being integrated in our discussions at a staff level. So where you are going to see more of the site-specific actions, perhaps, comes out of discussions either through planning or through our strategic, like when we think of our next round of strategic planning, there's no doubt that these reports are going to be integrated into the discussions that we're having. And then ultimately, wherever it is that we can maximize our efforts towards, facilitating or addressing some of the issues via the recommendations that have been identified, then we would look to do that, right? And so things like facilitating the water dugouts and whatnot, like how would we do that through planning or zoning, becomes all of these fine-tuning elements that we would want to make sure we're facilitating, so that's easy for people to create the solutions that are being recommended. And when we're coming across certain issues that are problematic, that we're creating the right barriers or check-in points to limit the amount of occurrences there. So these are documents that are intended to be digested not only by the public, but particularly by the operations of the ACRD.
Thank you for that. Absolutely wonderful to hear what you're saying about these reports are not going to be just put on a shelf and collect dust, that we'll be able to use this data for things. I'm hoping to be able to use some of this in the Sprout Lake OCP for information. I think it's very valuable. Thank you.
Any further comments or questions? I had a couple. So the first one is a question around, did the previous initiatives around, I guess, meat processing, abattoirs and that sort of thing, did that help move the needle on local capacity to handle just dealing with food security on the livestock side?
Yes, absolutely. So Anna. Yes, absolutely it did. There still remain a few tweaks or concerns from the community around, for example, how complicated it can be to renew licensing and things like that. What was great about this process is we did have individuals from the Ministry of Agriculture in the room with us at these meetings. So the regional extension coordinator, Tom O'Dell, came, and so he was able to hear directly around some of the challenges that still remain. But overall, yes, that's made a huge difference.
My next question may not have an answer. I think it has to do with the intersection of agriculture and food security into emergency situations. Were there conversations around logistics in terms of distributing food, and not just distributing food through government concerns, though? Like in an emergency situation, heaven forbid, but like if the whole Alberni Valley and West Coast is temporarily, lacking capacity to access the rest of the island, are there things that we can do to prepare the way for managing logistics of getting food to different places that may need them? So do we have staging areas that have been identified? Do we have an understanding of what kind of trucks we may need to get out to Tofino and Ucluelet if they need the help, or Bamfield to Huyet, or whatever? And is that something that's considered within the auspices of these plans or somewhere else?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the work that we did in those plans is the starting point. We also identified, as I mentioned, the food distribution strategy is the number one thing that's really needed. And working with the emergency management network is a key group to make sure that the sort of I's are dotted and the T's are crossed on all of those details. We've started to do an inventory around what exists where in terms of food storage, commercial kitchens, where things can be placed. Are they in the tsunami zone or not? We had some great conversations with Ucluelet and Tofino about that. And so that is in the report, but again, more needs to be done specifically to your point on food distribution strategy. And I would say not even just food for people, but also food for animals as well. That came up a lot. And then by corollary, the question of drinking water came into this too. It was out of scope of this project, but whenever possible, we dealt with it because it was intertwined so much.
So related to that is, have you had interactions with kind of one step beyond in terms of third parties? I'm thinking about like food banks, old folks' homes that have to feed their old folks, sick Gurdwaras. I mean, there's 2 of them in the area, and part of their culture is to help in those kind of emergencies as well. I don't know that that's a question. It's like, have you had the conversations, or can that be a part of the plan in the future?
Yes, so those conversations were started, specifically the surveys and the interviews that we did started that process. There was great level of interest of seeing where this plan ended up and wanting to see the ACRD really embrace it as a way to move forward and bringing people to the table to keep going with all of these recommendations.
Thank you. Last 2 questions, I promise. Sorry, I'm really interested in this kind of stuff.
Great.
First question is, are there considerations around what our strengths are in the ACRD in terms of interregional cooperation? Because a forest fire might not care, or an earthquake might not care, or tsunami and that sort of thing. Are there interregional opportunities, and where would we start those? And then the second one is, in terms of advocacy with the provincial government and the federal government, are there things that we're lacking that the province could provide that we should be asking for? So that's maybe not a question that you don't have to answer it now, but I'd love to hear that before the AVICC, before UBCM.
That's great. No, you're sort of reading our minds as next steps. But to answer your first question around the interregional piece. So the Comox Valley Regional District is doing a similar project at the same time. And so we've had conversations with the groups like Lush Valley doing this work. And I believe Amy's given a presentation to them as well. And the idea is that we're going to share this with them after today's meeting and to be able to really keep that conversation going around interregional support. And Nanaimo Regional District as well has done a lot of work in this regard, and there's interest in having, I think, interregional conversations moving forward. Insofar as the provincial and federal piece, whenever possible, we tried to focus on what the regional district itself could do within your jurisdiction, but we acknowledge that there were things that were outside, and that's where you'll see the advocacy pieces that come in, and a lot of that is around upgrade to tsunami, support for tsunami warnings, support for cell phone connectivity, road upgrades. Like a lot of that provincial piece is involved, obviously, in emergency preparedness. And so that comes in quite a bit throughout the report.
I have like a bunch more questions, but I'll leave them at this point. But thank you for all of the work necessary. Are there any other comments or questions? Okay, on behalf of the board, thank you so much for the report.
Thank you very much. It was a real pleasure working on these projects. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So let's take a moment to it might be at least 10 minutes, Deb, if you want to bring your no? Oh, you have your phone. Yeah, you're all good. Okay. Okay. All right. I'd like to thank the Francoeurs for coming. If you'd like to speak to development variance applicants for DVF 25001, we're talking about 6614 Andrews Lane. So thank you and welcome, and please go ahead.
All right. Good afternoon. Thank you for having us. My name is Kim Franker, and I am the daughter-in-law of the property owners, Dennis and Diane. And I've been nominated, unfortunately, to speak with you. So please bear with me. I'm not as good as the last girl. We appreciate the opportunity to provide clarification regarding our development variance permit for Andrews Lane. We are here today to outline the corrective measures we've undertaken, summarize our commitments to regulatory compliance, and lay out our plan for environmental protection. A little bit of background and site context. So the Franker family has occupied the Andrews Lane property for 46 years with long-standing involvement in the Cherry Creek community, services, and environmental stewardship. Of relevance to this application, Dennis Franker himself has over 30 years of operational experience with Cherry Creek Waterworks, the Salmon Enhancement Initiatives, as well as contract work with Fisheries and Oceans Canada. And he is also a registered wastewater practitioner. The development variance DVF 25001 request relates specifically to a watercourse setback reduction and an accessory building height increase. We're asking that the watercourse setback be reduced from the required 30.48 meter setback from Platzer Creek to 11.7 meters to permit the sitting of an existing open steel frame accessory structure, and an increase to the allowable accessory building height from 4.6 meters to 6.7 meters. Both requests relate to a structure constructed without a formal building permit. We acknowledge this non-compliance. There is no intent to circumvent ACRD bylaws or environmental protections, and we accept full responsibility and will implement all required remedial steps. Neighborhood and operational concerns. During the public notification period, concerns were raised regarding noise, industrial activity, traffic generation, and environmental impacts. We note the following. Measures have been taken to reduce noise, light, and operational disturbances. Some concerns appear to reference activities associated with other properties that are owned by the same people in the vicinity, but are separate to this variance request. And several small businesses operate within this area, contributing to misunderstandings regarding the source of different activity. To support transparency, we did conduct direct outreach to surrounding property owners, and we hand-delivered a letter. 8 written letters of support were received because of this engagement, and none of the neighbors that had initially raised concerns reached out to us or got back to us once they received that letter. So our environmental assessment and restoration plan for Platzer Creek, which is the creek that runs through the property, to address riparian and environmental considerations, Aquaparian Environmental Consulting Limited completed a condition and impact assessment and prepared a riparian restoration plan for Platzer Creek. We are committed to implementing the prescribed mitigation measures, including establishment of a 10-meter riparian buffer with native species, removal of stored materials, equipment, and non-conforming uses from sensitive riparian zones, inspection, servicing, and ongoing maintenance of the oil water separator system, installation of fencing or delineation structures to prevent future encroachment into the restored areas, and continued monitoring of water quality and site conditions as recommended. These measures directly address the concerns related to the potential impacts of the creek. Engineering review and building safety. So to address the structural and code compliance that have been brought up, we did retain McGill Engineering to perform an engineering review of the structure. We will ensure full implementation of their recommendations and compliance with the BC Building Code requirements applicable to accessory structures, ACRD building bylaw provisions, and any additional requirements imposed as a condition. In conclusion, we respectfully request favorable consideration of development variance permit DVF 25001. Our intent is to achieve compliance with ACRD bylaws, address the environmental and structural concerns, maintain a responsible and transparent relationship with both the board and our neighbors. And I think that's it.
Great. You did well.
Thank you.
Very well. Yeah. Are there any comments or questions? Go ahead.
Thank you. It's a good presentation. I like that. See, you're getting good at this.
Thank you.
You did a lot of things there. You said about going through and what were around the areas there and what you're going to do with the riparian zone and with the industrial use and the parking of fuel near water courses, noise and heavy equipment, impacts to road, runoff, erosion, restrictions in the number of dwellings. And that's all good. So there was two buildings that were originally flagged, and one was okay, just needed a building permit, didn't have it. This one is too close to the creek, and too close to a boundary and too high, I believe. But what I want to look at is 292. There we go. 292. Because what I want to go down to here is redo it now. It's to do with the there we are. The McGill structural drawings, which I looked at because that's me. And in here it says that the columns, that's the piece that goes from cement base to the roof, are undersized. Right? And you wrote that it is times undersized. So being my last trade, I happen to be lucky enough to have to rebuild things and take columns out. So in order to re-establish this building up to BC building code, you're gonna have to take each column out individually or replace it or take the roof off, replace it. Just out of 12 columns, I think 10 have to be replaced. Is that not true?
No, that's not what's okay. Yeah,
What do you?
that's not the way, no, not the way I was explained that all we had to do is put another base in and just add a second post. It was just the span was too far apart. So we're not removing, they're changing the existing ones. We just gotta add some more to narrow the doorway up. And then we can go all the way up to the beam again.
So you're doubling all the columns up to make it legal.
That's right.
Basically. Okay,
Yeah.
because right now they're undersized columns. The only way to
Yeah.
fix it with the same amount of columns is to dismantle the building.
Right.
And then put the columns in and yes.
No. Brad looked at that and no, that's right. We can just make them up with another one. So if we double them up, then it'll narrow up the openings, and then he was comfortable with it according to building code. Everything else.
But still leaves the building too close to riparian zone and too close to the boundary for the height. Is that correct? Yeah. So
that's right.
Yeah.
And that is what we're asking the variance for when they talk about the height restrictions as well. Like when you look at the landscape, our neighbor's land is, is higher. So so it's not like it's a downslope in this monstrosity. It's kind of the opposite. So as far as height, it's not from the neighboring lot. It's not as high as it looks, if that makes sense, if that helps at all. And that
true, but I'll get Alex to figure this one out. But the building height is calculated from the height of the ground level at where it's built, not from your neighbor's house. Is that?
Yeah, through the chair. So we calculate building height from the average natural grade. So the natural grade that's at the site right now. It doesn't contemplate the natural grade at the neighbor's house, for example. What they're applying for is an increase in height because they don't meet the graduated height allowance, where you can go a foot higher for every 2 feet you come away from a setback, and so that's what they're applying to modify at this time.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Blinko, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. This is very similar to a instance we had with development variance in Banfield, I think about 2 months ago, where someone had built a structure. That one had a permit, I believe, but did not have inspections, and it was built in the wrong spot. And we denied the variance because it was how do you want to say, someone asking for forgiveness rather than getting permission at the start. So we got to make sure what precedents we're setting here, because here we have a building that is not in the right spot and does not have a permit when it was built. So we need to look at that aspect of what we're talking about here as well, because this is potentially precedent setting as what we're doing, because we just declined something very similar to this in Banfield 2 months ago. Thank you.
Thank you.
there is some discrepancy with comparing us directly to Banfield in that they applied for a development variance, got it, and then built the house in the wrong spot and then reapplied for another one. So it's a little bit different. It wasn't our intention where they, you know, it's a little bit different. So if we're comparing apples and apples, they're not really the same apples.
I would agree with that, but I would also challenge the fact that they did have a permit and a development variance at the start, and then the issue started after that. But it is not exactly the same comparison. You are correct.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions? Okay, I'd like to thank you for your presentation. It's very helpful. Thank you. Alrighty. So we'll just give it a time. Could someone let Deb know that she can come back in? Thank you, Alex.
Can I just have a quick comment, Chair?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I just want to thank the applicant for actually engaging with all the neighbors and having some positive chats and talking to them, because we see that as a problem that happens regularly out here, and most of things can be resolved by actually just talking with the neighbors. So thank you for that.
Very good comment. Thank you, Director Blackwell. Okay, so that brings us to the next item on the agenda, which is item 6. It's correspondence for action. So this is for director attendance to the 2026 Electoral Area Directors Forum, and then followed by the Local Government Leadership Academy Forum. So this is an option available for the electoral area directors, as well as the LGLA is available to all directors who are not municipal directors, I believe. I think that's how we did it. Okay. Dr. Cote, please go ahead.
Thanks. I'd like to make a motion that directors that would like to go can attend the EA Directors Forum and the Local Government Leadership Academy Forum. Thanks.
Okay, so we'll make it all eligible directors, just so that, yeah, so I'm not going to the EA Directors Forum. Although I may be able to go. Any further comments? Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Dr. Roth. And then comments, Dr. Sparrow.
Thank you. March 11th is a Wednesday, and that's a board meeting day, so I don't know who can all attend. If I can, I can't see.
So we do have alternates. So, and not all EA directors can go, but it can be worthwhile. It depends on the agenda for the EA Directors Forum, which I don't know. LGLA should be pretty good though, but that's on the weekend or the Thursday, Friday. Yeah. Main days are Thursday, Friday. Any further comments? Seeing none. All those in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion carried. Thank you. I will be going, but the LGLA will be paying for my ride to the LGLA. Next item is labeled as C, but it should be B, and it's declaring January 2026 as Crime Stoppers Month.
Sorry, just point of order. We had two motions, one for the EA Directors Forum and one for the LGLA Forum. So if there's any directors that want to go to the LGLA, we should make a second motion.
Okay. So she mentioned them both in one. So just all eligible directors would be able to go to either event. Okay. Sorry. Would anyone like to make the motion about the January as Crime Stoppers Month? Dr. Cote?
Thank you. I would move that the Alberni Clayoquot Regional District Board of Directors proclaim January 2026 as Crime Stoppers Month.
Would anyone like to second that? Thank you, Dr. Johnson. Any comments? Director Beckett, please go ahead.
Thank you. I'm in total support of this initiative. I am wondering, and unless I missed it, what's the relationship with RCMP, and is there any coordination of efforts and communication from the local RCMP detachment?
That is a good question. I think we were going to invite the RCMP to speak during our board meeting in January, but I don't know what else is planned. Daniel? Yeah, that's all we were aware of to start. So, do any municipalities have anything similar like going on? No?
We did.
Oh, okay. All right. So we'll find out together then. Okay. Well, thank you very much. That brings us into item 7, which is correspondence for information. That brings us to. Would anyone like to pull anything out? So there is asset management training available to attend. I think it's online. Is that correct? Yeah. And does anyone have any opinions on the Professional Reliance Act? Director Cote, please go ahead.
From what I'm hearing, MIA actually sent a letter explaining what the risk was legally. And UBCM was happy and the province was happy to receive it. I think that they're just waiting for this bill to die. That's my opinion. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I did neglect to add something to the correspondence for information. Wondering if we could have a motion to accept it. It has to do with a planned closure of Highway 4. Thank you, Director Coots, seconded by Director Sparrow. Please go ahead.
I make a comment in the asset management. It's a free online course. I believe we send the link out for those who want to. Not hyperlink here, so I can't get it.
All right, all in favor of adding the item to the agenda? All opposed? A motion carried just barely. So the other item for correspondence for information is that next week, Wednesday, Highway 4 will be closed between the times of when? Sorry?
So we got an email this morning just with debris fall that occurred on Monday evening. For those who do the daily commute, you would have noticed an increase of trees leaning against that barrier fence around Cameron Lake. So they're going to, the Ministry of Transportation provided notice of a full closure of Highway 4 on December 17th between the hours of 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. And so they're going to be doing all of the on-site work that requires the road closure, and would like the public to also know that even after the closure, people will notice crews working behind the fence, but there is a lot of debris that has come down as a result of the rain. And so they are having to do that clearing. We're going to post this as well, but it's just thought, given that the email just came in, it would be timely to share, as there's a lot of people that depend on that highway, especially between the hours of 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. An issue that we've already flagged, but that is the closure time.
All right, thank you very much for that. I commute using that one as well. Any further comments? Go ahead, Dr. Sparrow.
Can we post that as soon as possible, because people that have appointments on Wednesday next week will now have to rearrange them, and that's not good.
For whatever reason, I'm thinking of a tractor trailer truck that's pink that I see every day when I'm traveling the road. It's going to impact him as well. Anyway, getting the information out is going to be very important. So thank you. We could have a motion to receive the correspondence for information. Thank you, Director Roberts, seconded by Director Coots. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion carried. I'd just like to acknowledge that Dr. McEwen is online, so hi, and thank you for being here. That brings us to item 8, request for decisions and bylaws. The first item is item A, payment acceptance for credit card payment processing fees. Terry, please go ahead.
Thank you. So we started this initiative late last year, and we've been looking at some options to eliminate credit card fees and have the person doing the charge paying those instead of them causing taxation levels here. So staff have gone through and looked at what's going to be most feasible and integrate best with our system. And so we are ready to proceed with Paymentus Corporation. So looking for some direction today to do that. I've outlined most of the details in the report itself, but just noting that we won't actually implement this until our crazy budget / audit season has been completed, but just would like to get the direction now so we can get some of this moving in the background. Thank you. Happy to answer questions.
Who came up with the name Paymentus? Director Boyko, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Someone with a dictionary made that decision to name that corporation, but just to be clear, this is a transfer of the credit card processing fee. So instead of the taxpayers paying it, it is the person using their credit card will be having to pay the extra 2.5% on that transaction. That's correct, right?
Yes, and it's not for all of our transactions. We're not going to change like the weigh scales at the landfill because that's just like there's a disclaimer that has to go out and that we don't know the optics of that and how that's going to work yet. So at this time, the proposal is for us to implement it here at the ACRD office. So those would be for like landfill AR accounts. So if someone has an account with the landfill, there's numerous of them that pay by credit card. I'm sure from a point system perspective, it works well for them, but would eliminate that. If you're doing your utility bills, right now you can pay your utility bills by credit card as well. And so it would just transfer that charge onto the homeowner or the person paying the utility bill.
No, thank you for the clarification. How much is Paymentus charging us for this service? Because I'm sure they don't work for free.
I actually don't know that off the top of my head, but I can get back to you. I know that it's like right now we are also paying that in terms of that credit card fee. Sorry, the property owner, it's all built into that percentage that they are paying. So it's not a charge on our end. So right now we're paying our current system with those fees, and this will be onto the homeowner.
Okay, I think we should, I don't want to know if we add an amendment to this, but we should be very clear moving forward that when this does get implemented, that if you use your credit card, you will be charged this extra percentage, and make sure it's very clear to everyone coming up and paying for things.
So it'll be on the website. Like if they're doing it online, they'll have the ability to log in and pay online their system, and it'll pop up and it'll give them that disclaimer every time. And then same with here if they come into the office. But yes, we're going to have, there's quite a few places, including District of Tofino, that already use this. So there's a lot of already pre-built comms information that we'll be making sure we roll out, which is also why we have a bit of a lead time here.
Perfect. Thank you, Terry.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, thank you. That brings us to Director Roberts and then Director Cote.
Yeah, through the chair to Terry, I'm just thinking in terms of people phoning in from, for example, Salmon Beach to have a pump and haul done. Is that an additional 15% if they put it on their credit card?
So no, sorry, the 15% is like what percentage of people are doing it. I think it's about 2% is the charge. What it will do now is we will eliminate taking credit card numbers over the phone, which is a security risk on our behalf. So they will be able to go online and fill out and submit a request for a pump and haul and pay there. So it will not be 15% though.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Director Cote.
Thank you. I just see it's like 90 to 110 hours of staff time, which seems to be a lot to learn this. My question is, do we have to purchase these or do we lease them? Because it's been a long time since I was in retail, but with a machine, but I I didn't own the machine. It was the bank's. So do we, and then you pay a cost in it, monthly cost to have that machine. So do we purchase them or lease them?
No, it'll actually be like it'll be a website platform is what it's going to be. So we don't actually get any equipment, and it is going to take some time to implement because there's some IT considerations because of the link from their site to our site, and then how that system is going to integrate with VADM, and then the communication aspect and making sure that everyone knows, including the landfill bills, making sure that they're all aware that if they're paying by credit card that these fees are there. So it's going to take a bit of a team effort from admin, finance, and IT to kind of get this rolled out and get everybody kind of trained and up and using it. So, but no actual hardware on our end to maintain.
But is there still a fee? Yeah.
Like an annual fee?
The fee is the fee is way less than the existing fee, if that makes sense. So I think there is a small fee, most of which is passed on to the person who's making the purchase. That's the whole intent of it. Right now in credit card processing fees, that it was costing us about $50,000 a year across our services. And we're estimating that it's going to save us about 30 grand a year in those costs. We would eliminate those completely if we did not accept credit cards at the tipping scales, but we have a lot of revenue that comes through in that manner. But we just feel like it's a little bit of a logistics nightmare to have the weigh scales implementing this program, and we just feel like it's going to slow everyone up. And so we might be recommending that in the future, but at this time we're just focusing on those AR accounts that are the landfill accounts receivable accounts, the utility bills, your Salmon Beach pump and haul, and those aspects of it.
Thank you. Dr. Sparrow, go ahead.
Thank you. So this is for credit cards. If they move to a debit card, will they stop the charges? Like this is just credit card.
Yeah, there's other options. They can pay by debit. Like there's a very small fee that we pay for debit cards, but it's hardly anything. Debit cards, they can pay by cash. For utility bills, they can pay online. They can pay by EFT transfer. So this is just like, there's many tools for them to provide us payment. And so this is just removing the fee aspect of the credit card component.
All right, thank you. Okay, would anyone like to move the motion as presented? Thank you, Dr. Roth and Dr. Cote. For our benefit, it's that the Alberni-Clackatt Regional District Board of Directors direct staff to implement a Paymentus Corporation payment system for credit card processing. That's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, that brings us to item B, which is the Port Alberni Transit Future Service Plan. Who's speaking to that? Eddie, I think. Oh, there we go. Go ahead, Eddie. Thanks.
Yes, thank you and good afternoon. This report relates to the attached Port Alberni Transit Future Service Plan that was presented to the AV&B Services Committee on November 26th by BC Transit. It sets the priorities for improving transit over the next 5 years, including, amongst other things, exploring service to Tishat First Nation and assessing interregional connectivity to the RDN. We are looking for board endorsement of the plan today. Thank you and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Dr. Haggard?
I'd like to make the motion if I may. We talked quite extensively about it at the meeting, so I'd like to move that the Alberni-Clackatt Regional District Board of Directors endorse the 2025 Port Alberni Transit Future Service Plan.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Dr. Cote. Any further comments? Good work. And all those in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion carried. All right, that brings us to item C, which is the Alberni Valley Agricultural Water Plan final report.
Thank you. This request relates to the delegation that was presented today. This grant-funded project is built upon many years of policy and engagement work that has taken place within the region on both the water quality and availability for agricultural use and food production. And all of this work has been guided by the ACRD's Agricultural Development Committee, the Coastal Foods Roundtable, and the Council for Agricultural Water Supply. So the report includes a number of recommendations for implementation, and those actions were highlighted by Ione in her presentation. The plan assesses water availability and feasibility for water options, as you've heard, and it intends to just build knowledge and create opportunities for both farmers and food producers, small and large alike in the region. Any future implementation plans or actions would be leveraged by grants and community partnerships. It would be guided by the Agricultural Development Committee and work that the ACRD is partnering on in the region on supporting a wider watershed stewardship committee as well. So at this time, staff recommend that the board receive the reports and happy to answer any questions.
Okay, first up, Dr. Boyko, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. So one of the main things on the report is build a dugout and take care of yourself, which I wholeheartedly support. But what's the future plan for this? Is this stop at this point, or we have more reports and more things, or are we going to put forward some future grants? And what's the forward plan? Thank you.
At the staff level, we will be investigating grant opportunities, as we always do, but I think we'll be working with the Agricultural Development Committee closely on finding actions that are implementable, I would say, and looking to some guidance from the community on the types of actions we could be prioritizing and then how to fund them. And then, of course, funneling all of that through the ACRD board for approval as well. But that is the next year, I think, is mostly working with our committees and the experts in the field on how best to implement this.
No, Alex, I think that's very good. I think the time for study, I don't know, the study time's over. You can't take water from this lake, can't take water from this lake. The big pie in the sky ideas have been shown to not work. So I would like to see that the next time we revisit this, we get some actionable plans and put pipes in the ground or water into irrigation systems as an actual thing rather than paying consultants grant money that comes from the only one taxpayer we have through a different means. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Boyko. I think that'll definitely be the next steps for sure. I think that's something I don't think we need a motion for.
No, you don't need a motion for that. It is, as I said during delegation as well, it is what staff is currently working through. Like once this is received, we'll digest that and come back with a number of different recommendations, Director Boyko. There's areas where what we'll be prioritizing is simply getting out of the way, so that people can get on with it as easily as possible. And other areas, like I said, where restrictions or there's concerns about things where we can maybe build purpose-built check-ins. But I think job one will really be that self-reflection in terms of what do we have that's causing harm in terms of policies, procedures, and approaches. And we'll start there. And like Alex said, the other stuff is really us collaborating on finding those grants, so that we can help the sector, avoid big costs for collaboration on bigger projects.
No, I think that's good, and thank you very much.
Thanks. So the motion is that the Alberni Clayoquot Regional District Board of Directors receive the Alberni Valley Agricultural Water Plan final report. I think Director Cote and Director Roth are probably the ones who've been the highest advocates for this information. So if you want to move and second that, that'd be great. Yeah. You guys have been wanting this for years, so seeing it happen is really good. So yeah, I think we can use this as a stepping off point for advocacy with the province as well. And I think that's something that hopefully staff can take into consideration with a report in the future going, hey, these programs are coming up, but they don't talk about this. Maybe you want to talk to the agricultural minister or whatever about that. Walrus.
Thank you. The data that's provided here is super important and great value of us moving forward with any initiatives. Thank you.
Great. Okay. So moved and seconded on my prompting, I will say. Sorry about that. But any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion carried. Yeah, really very good work. Thank you for this. Next up, Alex, is the Alberni Valley West Coast Food Security Emergency Plan and Livestock Emergency Plan final reports. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Similarly, this was presented by Ione as well today. This was another grant-funded project that was a two-phase project, as you've heard, across the region, involved developing a livestock emergency plan and a food security needs assessment here in the Alberni Valley, and that collaborated with the city of Port Alberni and the Secwépemc Nipissing First Nations. And then the second phase was more focused on the West Coast, where there's more unique challenges and opportunities, I would say, on food security and sovereignty. And that phase was in collaboration with the districts of Tofino and Ucluelet and the Ucluelet government. The three reports associated with this project are linked on the ACRD website and are summarized in detail in the staff report. The reports here also include a number of recommended actions for food security, emergency management, and preparedness, and increased community food resiliency and sovereignty. I'll just also highlight that the Alberni Valley Plan includes the livestock evacuation plan, which satisfies a legislative obligation of the Emergency and Disaster Management Act. So we're happy to achieve that. And of course, similarly with the water plan, any future implementation actions would be guided by grant opportunities and community partnerships and funneled through the Agricultural Development committee and the experts there. So at this time, the staff recommendation is that the board receive the reports. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any comments or questions? Or would anyone like to move the motion? Dr. Roth, go ahead.
I'd like to move that the Alberni Clayoquot Regional District Board of Directors receive the Alberni Valley Food Security Emergency Plan and Alberni Valley Livestock Emergency Plan and the West Coast Food Security Emergency Plan.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Everyone, thank you, Dr. Johnson. Any further comments? Seeing none. All those in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion carried. Once again, great work and is a stepping stone into further understanding of what we can do, how we can do it. Okay, that brings us to item E. This is for Charlie to present Hupatchisiut First Nation ACRD Fire Suppression and First Responder Service Agreement. Thank you and welcome. Please go ahead.
Yes, this RFD is around the service agreement we've had with Hupatchisiut since 2017. It is due to expire today, and it was included in your package. What we're asking today is that we enter into a letter of understanding with Hupatchisiut to give us an extra 4 months to allow them to take it to their council and get approval on their end. Any questions I'm happy to answer.
Any comments or questions? Go ahead, Director Roth.
I was just going to make the motion.
Sure.
Do I need to read it out or?
Yeah, let's read it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
I move that the Alberni Clayoquot Regional District. Sorry.
There was a change to what might have been in the agenda package there initially.
My apologies. I remember that. Okay, so there was a mistake in regards to this in that it wasn't about the agreement, but rather an MOU to extend time to get to the agreement for 4 months.
Yeah, I move that.
Okay, thank you.
Do you want me to read it out?
Yes, please.
That the ACRD Board of Directors authorize the CIO to enter into an interim fire protection services agreement until March 31st, 2026 with Hupatchisiut First Nation, allowing the Sprout Lake Fire Department to provide structural fire protection to Klekut Indian Reserve Number 2, with any long-term changes to the agreement being brought back to the ACRD Board of Directors.
Okay, so that's the motion that's been moved and seconded by Director Coots. Any further comments? Director Boyko, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just trying to see the cost sharing part of this agreement. I had trouble seeing if there's anything in there. Is it similar to what Anakla and Banfield have, where it's based on number of units, or is there something else in place there?
No, it's pretty much identical. Terry, do you want to speak to that?
Currently, it's actually on appraisal values, which is problematic for them because it costs them a lot of money to get the appraised values. But we'll leave that in this 4-month agreement just because we just want to roll it forward. But the idea and the concept that they have agreed to is to do it based on number of dwellings. So number of dwellings on Klekut Reserve compared to the number of dwellings in Sprout Lake Fire Department as a whole.
Dwellings being human habitations or buildings?
They're kind of buildings, or I shouldn't say kind of, they are buildings in the Banfield agreement, and I think that's where we'll land with this agreement as well. But we don't take everything that's an improvement off of the BC assessment listing. We do, I can't remember what the threshold is, if it was like 50 grand or 75 grand, but we had like a cutoff number for improvements per a folio, and then it was number of folios with improvements.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you for that. So this is for an MOU to extend time to get to an agreement.
And Brown Group to develop an emergency communications plan in partnership with the City of Port Alberni, Sechot First Nation, and Hupatchisiut First Nation. The purpose of this plan was to improve interagency communication and to enhance inclusive, effective, and efficient communication practices across all 4 phases of emergency management. This project produced an emergency communication and public notification plan, as well as 4 resource guides, 11 standard operating guidelines, and the development of several social media graphics. A final draft of the emergency plan was presented by our consultants at the November 5th Emergency Executive Committee meeting. During this meeting, the plan was reviewed and we had a thorough discussion. And at the time, the Emergency Executive Committee recommended that the ACRD Board of Directors approve the adoption of the plan. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Director Roberts, please go ahead, and then Director Boyko. Yeah, go so. Use the mic though.
Yes, I just wanted to move that the Alberni-Clayoquot Regional District Board of Directors adopt the Alberni-Clayoquot Regional District Emergency Communications and Public Notification Plan as presented.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Director Coots. And further comments? Did you have any comments or just moving? Okay, Director Boyko, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much for the report. I had a good read of it. There's one sentence I want to examine, and it says that emergency notifications, a harmonized framework for public notifications across the region be implemented. Now, one of the main challenges, and I know it's not a simple solution to this during the whole Underwood fire, is the ACRD website, the ACRD social media channels, Drive BC, BC Wildfire did not say the same thing at the same time. And I know that's challenging because there's different government agencies, but as a member of the public, you want to see a consistent message from everything change at the same time. If it doesn't, then you get Joe Blow saying, Drive BC says road's open. No, it doesn't say it's open, blah, blah, blah. And it creates more chaos than there needs to be. So when we say a harmonized framework, what exactly are we going to change moving forward so that we can have everything, every message be the same at the same time for everything? Thank you.
Yeah, when we talked about the harmonized framework, particularly, we were talking about the partnerships of the group and really working in unison, but we certainly did have interviews with like the Ministry of Transportation, as you mentioned, and other agencies as well. We do have coordination calls where we do, Director Boyko, try to align our communication and decide who's speaking first. We do try to also let the agency, the lead agency, as we often say, the person who has jurisdiction. So if it's specifically roads, we do try to let the Ministry of Transportation speak first, and then we echo their communication rather than everybody saying something different, as you say. So we often will determine who speaks first and who's the lead agency, and then we try to echo that message. I do fully understand that what didn't always play out in the emergency with Mount Underwood, but the efforts were there to try to do that.
No, I think we all appreciate the challenges that everyone was under and the long hours that everybody was working, but I see that as an opportunity for improvement based on a lot of the feedback that I have gotten from everyone I've talked to. Thank you.
Yeah,
There's definitely feedback we've all received for sure, especially Karen. Go ahead, Daniel, and then we'll go to Director Beckett.
Thank you. Just expanding on what Karen said, there's Director Boyko, you're absolutely correct, and I appreciate that you're also acknowledging the effort that went into managing that complexity. We have had discussions around how we first discuss implementation of some of these changes, and so one of the complexities that was flagged is that we had at one point we had 61 different represented agencies and individuals on these calls where we're talking about the timing of an opening of a road, for example, or the conditions. And one of the recommendations that we will explore in the future is reducing that to a pure operational group that's talking about those things, because it's also extremely challenging to contain information that isn't ready for the public because it hasn't been flushed out. And what we saw where there were disjointed things is usually after these larger coordination calls, you'd see a slip either through social media or email or somewhere else that wasn't sanctioned, and then we're all playing catch up. And so there's a number of recommendations that we're going to explore first before we can achieve some harmonized coordination. But I will say that at the very least, within the valley, between agencies like Tashot, Hupachesit, the city, ourselves, Huayet, we were able to coordinate and we were able to get all of our messaging out in step, and that was one of the small victories here. The next is going to be like trying to coordinate with the BC Hydros and Ministries of Transportation of the world, and that's yet to be seen.
Thank you. That brings us to Director Beckett. Please go ahead.
Thank you. I was doing fine this morning and this afternoon until we brought this up, and all of a sudden my blood pressure spiked. The Mount Underwood fire, created huge challenges, as you've pointed out, Director Boyko. And I'm glad you mentioned your point about lessons learned. And I can tell you the conversations that I had with Karen and Daniel over my frustrations and their frustrations in dealing with the other partners. And I can tell you the number of times Karen and I got off the phone, and Karen reached back out to try to clarify and make sure that our partners were working in concert with us and trying to explain that the community of Banfield, the residents of Banfield and Anakla, were dependent on some of this information, with respect to really important things in their lives, such as medical appointments, etc. So when it comes to lessons learned, I was delighted to see this item on the agenda. And I know that, heaven forbid we have another, significant emergency. I know that these lessons learned will be applied to our partners, shared with our partners, so that we have a better line of communication and more accurate, and one that's not on a social media platform that isn't representative of the EOC and the emergency. So thanks to Karen and Daniel and staff for all your efforts. It was very, very challenging at times, I know.
Thank you, Director Beckett. And just to supplement that, I think a good example of why it's so important to coordinate together is, I think there was an inadvertent reposting of old information on the Huu-ay-aht website or on one of our socials that led to some confusion and I think some anger, because it was a different. It was the message that in the early days was that, stay off all of the roads in and out of the Banfield Anakla area, because we're not certain whether or not they'll be impacted and they might be needed for emergency purposes. And then that changed to a point where you could head south through Dididot territory on a regular basis. But some of that information, the older post was reshared accidentally and led to some of that confusion. One thing I would note, though, is that Huu-ay-aht sent a few staff members to integrate directly with the ACRD. And one of the things that we came to realize is that having a centralized font of information was very helpful. And so I started just directing people mostly to the ACRD web page, which had a constant, that one web page had a constant set of links and information that were kept up to date and was a single place, a source of all that information. So I think Huu-ay-aht took some of that content and made it pretty, but we used that as our central kind of source. And I think something similar would likely happen in the future if something were to affect our territory and ACRD territory at the same time. So coordination, we learned a lot on the Huu-ay-aht side. I think the whole Mount Underwood fire experience helped all of us learn something. So I think we'll do better into the future. But this is definitely a good reflection of those lessons. So thank you for the work. And Director Beckett, please go ahead.
Thank you. I was going to make mention of this in my Banfield report, but because it's applicable, I'll share it now. I've noticed for the last 3 weeks now, 4 weeks, that the ACRD and staff are posting online much more frequently and ahead of challenges with respect to weather announcements and temporary Banfield road closures. And boy, is that ever helpful when it's current and on a regular basis that information's getting out. That will provide a lot more confidence with everyone, especially the folks of Anakla and Banfield. So thank you for that. That is working.
Okay, thank you everyone for this. It's been moved and seconded, so we'll just go into all those in favor. All opposed? Okay, motion carried. Thank you very much. Okay, sorry, Kel, I know you have to leave in the next few minutes. We do have 2 items in regards to TUPs in Long Beach. Do you want to try to cover them? Alex, do you want to introduce the first one? Yeah.
Sure, happy to introduce that briefly here. So this is the first application is a renewal application for a temporary use permit for the operation of the Lost Shoe Creek Campground at 2660 Tofino Euclid Highway. This would be a renewal of the current PUP, which was issued in 2022 to allow for 49 campsites operated as a mix of unserviced, partially serviced, and fully serviced tent and RV sites, essentially. The conditions of use provided within the TUP intend to ensure that the operation of the campground meets requirements, including water and sewer servicing, suitable access, noise control, waste management, fire suppression, and emergency management protocols as well. Staff do recommend that the proposed TUP be referred to the Ministry of Transportation and Transit, as well as the Euclid Fire Department, to ensure that safe access is provided to the site. Long Beach Advisory Planning Commission supported this application as presented at their meeting on December 1st. And at this time, staff do recommend the board proceed with the neighbor notification process and the confirmation that safe access will be provided to the site. Happy to answer any questions.
Dr. Roberts?
I'd like to make a recommendation that the Alberni Clayoquot Regional District Board of Directors consider issuing TUP 22007R subject to safe and suitable access to the site confirmed by the Ministry of Transport and Transit and local Euclid Fire Department, and B, the neighbor notification in accordance with section 494 of the Local Government Act.
Seconded by Director Cote. Thank you for that. Any further comments? Seeing none. All those in favor? All opposed? Your motion carried. Alex, do you want to go into item B?
Sure. One more for Long Beach here. This is a new temporary use permit application for the operation of a short-term rental on a property located at 232 Albion Crescent in Millstream neighborhood. The STR would be operated from the main and upper floor areas of the house, and the owner would reside in the basement suite to act as the on-site caretaker. The TUP for a short-term rental was issued to a previous owner of this property in 2022. And was operating without concerns being raised to the ACRD at least. A new septic system was installed on this property in 2022 as well. So the Long Beach APC considered this application at their December meeting where they supported it as presented, and the recommendation would be that we proceed with the neighbor notification process. Thank you.
Through the chair, thank you, Alex, for that. I'm familiar with this. My recommendation is that the Alberni Clayoquot Regional District Board of Directors considering issue TUP 25015 to a completion of health and safety inspection by the ACRD building inspector, and B, neighbor notification according to section 494 of the Local Government Act.
Thank you. Seconded by Director Cote. Any further comments? Seeing none. All those in favor? All opposed? The motion carried. Thank you. And thank you, Director Roberts. It's good to see you. Yeah. Happy holidays to you too, Cal. I was happy to see your truck in the parking lot. Okay, so that brings us to item C, which is also a temporary use permit, but for Sprout Lake this time. Please go ahead, Alex.
Thank you, Chair Jack. This is a TUP for a short-term rental operation as well. And this Sprout Lake area, this one's located at 8245 Dixon Drive. The applicants intend to rent the house for minimum 1 week stays. In this case, the occupancy would be limited to 5 people in accordance with the assessment that we've received from the registered on-site wastewater practitioner. The property owners do have a local agent in the neighborhood that would act as the caretaker for this operation. The Sprout Lake APC considered the application on November 24th, where the members in attendance supported the TUP with the conditions of use that were presented. Staff recommend that the board proceed with the public input process and a review by the building inspector prior to making a final decision. Thank you.
Director Cote?
Thank you. I would move that the Alberni Clayoquot Regional District Board of Directors consider temporary use permit application TUP 25014 subject to the following: health and safety inspection by the ACRD board building inspector and neighborhood notification as per Local Government Act 494.
Is anyone seconded by Director Roth? Any further comments? It's like, nope, that's a black sleeve. Any further comments? Seeing none. All those in favor? All opposed? The motion carried. Thank you. Alrighty, so that brings us to item D, which is another temporary use permit for Sport Lake.
Thank you very much. This is another short-term rental application for a house located at 9694 Lakeshore Road in the Sprott Lake area. House is located on a 1 hectare property, and the applicants reside in the main house and intend to have the flexibility to operate the 4-bedroom dwelling as an STR intermittently throughout the year. The applicant's family do reside next door, and they would stay with them as needed to act as a neighboring caretaker while the property is used as a short-term rental. The APC considered the application on November 24th again, where questions were raised about clarifying the use of recreational vehicles that are stored on the property. They are for family use, and we have clarified the terms in the TUP to ensure that they're not the RVs are not to be used as part of the short-term rental. 2 of the 3 members in attendance at that meeting supported the application with that additional condition, and at this time staff do recommend that the board proceed with the wider neighbor notification and public advertising process, as well as the review by the building inspector prior to bringing them back for a final decision. Thank you.
Dr. Cote?
Thank you. Question, there was a question about all of the properties that are very close. I think it's a trailer park, or is it the Maples? Will all of those properties, rental properties, then be notified as well?
Yes, through the chair, it is a couple properties down from the Lakeshore Campground property, which is a 26 unit RV site that is included within the notification radius. So all the property owners and residents in that RV park, and then in all the properties within 100 meters would be notified as part of this.
So if there's any questions, will that come back to the board, or there's a lot of notification there? So just wondered if it would come back to the board, or once we approve this now. But it says neighbor notification. So is there is there possible that this could come back to the board?
Yes, certainly. So the board would be considering it at this stage, and we would need to do the neighbor notification prior to bringing this back. So if the board is moving ahead with the application today, we'd be notifying over the month of December into January, and then bringing the comments and the questions and the correspondence received back to the board for a final consideration in January.
Okay, so thank you. So this motion then is just to consider temporary use permit. So I would make the recommendation that the Alberni Clayoquot Regional District Board of Directors consider temporary use permit application TUP 25011, subject to the following health and safety inspection by the ACRD building inspector and neighborhood notification as per local government act. And there was concern from the APC regarding the part of the property is zoned differently. So thank you.
Yep, thank you. Moved. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Dr. Sparrow. Any further comments? Seeing none. All those in favor? Motion carried. Thank you. All right, that brings us to item E, which is one for Beaver Creek. Go ahead, Alex.
Thank you very much. This is a rezoning application for a property located at 5535 Strick Road in the Beaver Creek area. The property would be rezoned to acreage residential RA2 district to facilitate a proposed 3-lot subdivision. The board gave 3 readings to this bylaw on November 26th after the public notice period was completed and no correspondence was received from the public in this case. The agency referral responses recommended approval for the bylaw, and the applicants have now submitted an assessment from their registered on-site wastewater practitioner, as well confirming that the property can accommodate sewage disposal to the 0.4 hectare minimum lot size. So in my view, all the applicants have appeared to satisfy all the conditions of approval, and staff recommend the board adopt the bylaw. Thank you.
Go ahead.
I'd like to move that bylaw P1529 Regional District of Alberni Clayoquot Zoning Atlas Amendment bylaw be adopted.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Dr. Cote. Any further comments? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. Okay, so that brings us to the second to last one. After this, we'll get Director Haggard to step out. Although she's municipal, she could step out now if she wanted. That brings us to item F, which is a Beaver Creek rezoning. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. This rezoning is for the property at 5670 Grandview Road in the Beaver Creek area. The property owners have applied to rezone the 2-hectare property from A2 to RA3 in order to facilitate subdivision to a 0.24 hectare minimum lot size, and they intend to subdivide the lot into 3 parcels. The Beaver Creek APC considered this application on December 2nd and supported the rezoning as presented. The rezoning is supported by the residential use policies in the Beaver Creek OCP, and the subdivision would create 2 vacant parcels for additional residential housing within a serviced area of the community. So planning staff are supportive of that. The applicants have already engaged a wastewater professional as well to confirm that they've got the sewage capacity that will meet Island Health requirements. Staff recommend that the board proceed with considering the bylaw following public notice given in accordance with the Local Government Act, and following the public advertising process, the bylaw would be considered for 3 readings by the board in January. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. I move that the Alberni Clayoquot Regional District Board of Directors consider first reading to bylaw P1532 Regional District of Alberni Clayoquot Zoning Amendment Bylaw at a future date, and that notice be given in accordance with section 467 of the Local Government Act. Should I carry it on?
No, it's 2 separate ones. Do we have a seconder for that first motion? Thank you, Dr. Sparrow. Any further comments? Seeing none. All those in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion carried. Please continue.
I move that the Alberni Clayoquot Regional District Board of Directors confirm that adoption of bylaw P1532 is subject to A, confirmation from a registered on-site wastewater practitioner that the parcel can accommodate on-site sewage disposal to a 0.24 hectare minimum lot size, and B, meeting all technical referral agency requirements.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Dr. Sparrow. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? A motion carried. Okay, we'll give it a moment here for Dr. Haggard to head out. Thank you, Charlie. Okay, please go ahead, Alex.
Thank you very much. This is a development variance application for 6614 Andrews Lane in Cherry Creek. This relates to the presentation given by Kim and family today. The variance would address encroachments, as you've heard, into the watercourse setback and the side yard setback for an existing accessory structure that was built without a building permit. The variance would reduce the watercourse setback from 30 meters to 11.7 meters and allow an increase in the height from 4.6 meters up to 6.7 meters. The board had last considered this application on August 27th, 2025, where the board received 6 letters of public correspondence, 5 of which expressed neighborhood opposition to the variance. At that meeting, the board deferred a decision to allow the applicants the opportunity to address those concerns and present to the board, which you've heard today. The applicants have submitted a package in support of their application, which includes a letter detailing their riparian area restoration plans, clarifies the use of the property, discusses fuel management, noise mitigation, and wildfire risk mitigation as well. The package submitted, as you've heard, also includes 7 letters of support. I think they said 8 letters earlier. There's 8 letters. There you go. Signed by property owners in the surrounding area. Staff have included all the background information here for the board to consider, including the letters that were received as a part of the public notice period in August, the new information presented by the applicants today, and the background report that was initially considered by the board in June, which includes the report from the qualified environmental professional, the engineer building drawings, and the site survey. Now, given the applicant's plans to mitigate concerns raised by the neighbors in relation to the building, and in addition to the riparian area restoration and environmental stewardship plan that is presented by the professional biologist and would be required by the development permit, staff do recommend that the board issue the development variance permit at this time. Alternative options are discussed in the report as well, and those options are to either consider denying the variance, which is an option of the board today, or deferring the application and directing staff to conduct a second neighbor notification process to gather additional public input prior to making a final decision. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Director Sparrow?
Well, thank you for that. Yeah, like the presentation today, they're gonna move the riparian zone and fix that and knock the noise in that down. But this is about the building and the building alone. It's not about other things too, which is good for the environment. I know Dennis has been there a long time resident. I know him quite well, but this is about the building. And the building itself is too close to the water course. It's too close to our property line. It's too high, and it is structurally defect as it sits today. As if you look at the drawings, it needs to have more columns or replace the columns. So, seeing all that, I'm going to recommend denial of this application. So I would like to move that motion, but I would like to hear about Dr. Boyko's say first.
Thank you. Director Boyko?
Thank you very much, Chair. Like I alluded to earlier, this is similar to the Banfield one. It's not exactly the same, where something was done incorrectly and you're looking for permission after the fact. This doesn't look like this is a new building by any stretch of the imagination. Like, how old is this, or when was this thing actually built? Do we know that information?
Through the chair, not I don't have the specifics, but within the last 5 to 10 years.
Okay, so basically this came to light based on something that happened a year ago and then came onto our radar through various means. It's always difficult to make decisions like this because you're talking about someone's livelihood and everything else. But at the same time, people that do follow the rules, get building permits, get inspections, follow things, put things in the right spot. Now we're asking that they don't need to do that necessarily. You can just do it and then come here to the board and get, pay your building permit application fee later on and move on. Like, this is precedent setting what we're talking about here. So I'm of the opinion that this thing should be rectified and done properly from scratch. So I'm on board with what Director Sparrow is saying in his choice. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You want to go back to go ahead?
Sure. So hearing all we've heard today and the fact the building is not a building code as it sits right now, it's going to be remediated extensively to get there. I would make the motion that we deny development permit DBF 25001 at this time.
Do we have a seconder? It's seconded by Dr. Boyko. Any further comments? Dr. Beckett and then Dr. Cote.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Director Boyko, I think, mentioned something about it, until it's rectified. How, and this is through the chair to Alex, how do we rectify something like this? This is similar to the Banfield situation with respect to, the options were limited in order to rectify the situation in Banfield. What staff's thoughts about how would we address the building, not the other issues, which seem to be addressed quite adequately by the owners. So I'll stop there and see if Alex can help us with this.
Thank you for the question through the chair. It can be difficult to seek resolution to these things. I mean, the options presented to the regional district at this point would be placing a notice on title, which would identify that there's a building contravention at the site, and that would be registered on the property title. Additional options could include enforcement action that would be considered as part of an in-camera discussion, but enforcing the bylaws may involve requiring removal of the structure or modification of the structure to comply with the bylaws. Without the height would be one that is easier to modify than the location of the building too close to the watercourse setback. Another option may be a different type of application combined with a modification of the structure. So we would look at those options with the applicants to look at next steps. But I think that from the ACRD's perspective, we would have, or from the staff perspective, we would have an interest in initiating the process to place a notice on title to at least identify that there's a building contravention at the site.
Daniel, go ahead.
Just expanding on what Alex has indicated, I just wanted to flag that part of the reason why staff recommended proceeding with the variance permit is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Alex, but from the material read, all of the concerns, the nuisance concerns, and the riparian and the restoration stewardship plan that was recommended by the environmental professional, all of that is what going to be adhered to. So in terms of mitigating the issue without moving structures, the recommendations of the professionals that have been made, the owners are agreeing to implement. And I think this is where there is an important difference from the discussion in Bamfield, where the board was left with a decision where the elements weren't fully mitigated. And we didn't have a clear path of mitigation. And as such, we ended up in a point of conflict where the board made a decision not to advance with the variance permit. In this case, what we do have is agreement to mitigate and adherence to those plans issued by professionals in order to mitigate them. I think it's an important difference because the enforcement afterwards, which is fully within the ACRD's rights to enforce, may be more complex than the agreement that we currently have today. And so I want to flag that because it's just I think it's an important aspect of the consideration here before you.
Thank you. Next up, I have Directors Cote and then Boyko.
Thank you. Regional district seems to keep running up against these type of issues again and again. A lot of the time we do allow the applicant to put a notice on title and move forward. My concern is what would happen to the creek because it is so close for deconstruction. We've had a similar, it was different, but a similar structural issue at Sproat Lake where there was concrete stairs and to have the structure removed was going to be more harmful to the environment than to leave it. So I'm not sure how moving or relocating this building would actually have an effect on the environment moving forward. Trying to find something in the report that's actually going to address that. So maybe staff could. Thanks.
Yeah, happy to address that. Thank you. So the recommendations that are provided by the professional biologist, including the 10-meter vegetated buffer zone being reestablished along the creek, removing industrial equipment from that riparian area, fencing those areas once they're restored, and repairing the oil grit separator in the parking area. Those are all requirements that must be adhered to as part of the development permit, and the regional district would be requiring that regardless of the outcome of the building. So they are they're hand in hand in the sense that if they're remediating the building to bring it up to building code standard and getting the building permit, they need the development permit anyways. But if they're not modifying the building and proceeding with the building permit, they still need the development permit, and they still need to do all of those elements that are recommended by the environmental professional, and that would certainly be the recommendation that staff would be enforcing with the applicants.
So, yeah, it's not really addressing moving it. It's on leaving it there and working with the applicant to make things better. That's how I see. Thanks.
Thank you for that. Any further comments or questions? Oh, yes, sorry. Please go ahead, Dr. Boga. And then Director Beck.
Thank you very much, Chair. I think we all appreciate what the applicant has done with regard to the items that Alex just listed. The riparian zone, the industrial noise, cleaning up the property, boil water separator, because there's multiple issues that were identified with this property and have been brought up by other neighbors and things like that. So what the applicant has done there, hands down, we all appreciate it. But like Director Sparrow said, the main issue is the building and why is it there and what can we do to fix that? And it's not up to the board to say, this is what you do to fix it. It's up to the applicant to work with the building inspector and the planning department to come up with a solution to that. That will be riparian safe as well as everything else, whatever needs to be done. Thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to Director Beckett. Please go ahead.
Thank you. I recognize that we have another motion that has been tabled to deny, but going back to staff's recommendation and the motion to issue a development variance permit, my question would be, if there was a development issue permit allowed in this case, would staff automatically put a notice on title? Given the fact that it's not in compliance. And so through the chair to Alex, can you answer that for me, please?
Yeah, I think Alex already said that the notice would go on automatically, but any enforcement activity would be subject to discussion of the board in camera.
Thank you for
sure. And just to expand on that, the decision to place a notice on title is a decision of the board as well. So the staff recommendation would be that we would initiate that process. That involves letters and notification to the property owners to give a timeline to rectify the issue. And if it's not rectified, the recommendation is brought forth to the board, and the board would be making the decision to place the notice.
So determining what a fair window for time and that sort of thing would be subject to a report.
Exactly. And that allows the applicants the opportunity to come up with a plan to remediate those issues, and that often happens with a notice on title process.
Okay, thank you. Did you have any follow-up, Dr. Beckett?
Thank you for asking that question, Chair. Because again, I know how much we struggled with our Banfield decisions, both locally at the committee level and then at the board. So help me, Alex, with this. If we deferred this for till another meeting, what would staff and the applicants do to try to come up with a solution other than having to remove and relocate the building?
Yeah, thank you, Director Beckett. I think the only the only avenue to defer a decision in staff's opinion would be to allow for additional engagement with the neighbors. I think that if the applicants were to come back with a modified proposal that would look at different numbers based on modifying the building or reducing the height, for example, or moving it, then we would want to be, we would want the time to modify that application, bring forward a new staff report. That can happen even after a variance is denied. They could apply again, for example. So yeah, my recommendation would be if the board is considering deferring a decision, that would be to seek additional input from the neighborhood, recognizing that the public notice period was conducted in August and some new information has been presented here today.
So, Chair, sorry, I apologize. Alex, I guess I'm just not sure by approaching the neighbors, how would that change the fact that it's the building is not in compliance given the setbacks?
Through the chair, yeah, it would not change that. It would just provide an additional opportunity for those neighbors to react to the information that has been presented today. Although we have heard that that same information was presented to those neighbors, and they've had the opportunity to engage with the applicants directly as well. So hopefully that helps.
Thanks,
Thank
Daniel.
you, Alex.
Daniel, you had a supplemental?
Yeah, if I could supplement, I mean, back to the report from the environmental professional, their recommendation on remediation is to restore the 10-meter wide riparian strip along the west side of the creek and the 10-meter section along the southeast side of the stream below the new road crossing culvert. And so I'm just, I guess I'm at a loss because we are not the professionals, and so what we would be aiming for is compliance to implement this, but then what the owners are saying is that they will. And so I'm not sure, other than moving the building, if the board wants to see the building moved, I'm not sure what other address we can seek when the professional report has already identified what we can and should seek, and the owner is saying that they will do that. So I guess that's where I have a conundrum on this one. If the board is asking for the building to be moved, then that's clear, and we can or lowered or both, then we can seek that. But if it's to implement something to mitigate the fact that it is too close, the only thing that I'm aware of that we have to go on is what the professionals have told us to do. And right now, by approving the variance permit, we would be in every position to achieve that.
Director Cote, and then I think that's it.
Thank you. Going along with what Mr. Salon just said, I think that any remediation work that's going to be done, there may be fish window that has to be addressed. And like what would the damage to the environment be at this point with moving the building? Something like, could the roof be slanted and that would bring the height down from the back, like something like that? Is there alternate things that can be done? And with the remediation work, I'm just worried about the environmental impact going forward of actually moving the building, especially now at this time of the season when it could impact fisheries. Yeah, this is a tough one. Thanks.
All right, thank you for that. Director Sparrow, final word.
Thank you. Thank you for all your comments. Yes, it is a tough one. The reason they're doing the remediation on the zone around the creek is because, well, they're in around the creek. That's why they're doing remediation. And yes, he had two buildings that had no building permits. One was in compliance with all the rules, so he had to pay what he had to pay. It's good. We didn't see that one. But this one is too close to the water, too close to the property line, and too high, and it needs remediation because the columns are too small inside of it. So it doesn't meet the building code either. So I don't like doing this, but we have rules for a reason, and I think we should follow them personally.
Okay, thank you. I think that's it for comments. So this is for electoral area directors only. So if we can have all in favor of the motion. All opposed. Okay, motion carried. Alrighty, so if we could have, let's do a 10-minute break. Yeah, get to back 10 minutes, come back at 1:45. I just have to use the washroom. So I know we're before the 1:45 time. Would it be all right to kick off a bit earlier? Director Roth is hoping to speak to the late item before she heads off for 4 o'clock. So I see Director Beckett is here. Director McEwen and Director Boyko might be still up and heading. Yeah, just because I did say it at 1:45. So there should be enough time to have at least that conversation. So that'll be the first motion that we'll open up when we come back, is just to move up the agenda item. And then we'll discuss it. Okay, well, I guess I'll fill up my coffee. You look like you'd benefit from ruggedized technology. Some people have the gremlins that maybe their bodies are differently like magnetized or something, and it messes things up. But yeah. Okay, welcome back, everyone. I think that's right on time. So that brings us to the next item. Because Director Roth needs to head out at 4 o'clock, I'm wondering if she could move a motion to move up the agenda item 12A. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Director Coots. Okay, all those in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion carried. Once again, just barely. But from that perspective, we'll go into item 12A, which is a discussion on social media conduct. And I did write Director Sparrow because he's the one who wanted to add it to it. So do you want to start, Director Sparrow? Please go ahead.
I am popular this time. So what happened is about social media is there's a post put up by Director Roth here of a picture of a flip chart with a bunch of words and numbers on it. And what happens is usually in social media, they usually tag me because I usually find things out and then post back. But in this case, people reached out to me and I was not touching that post or because I didn't know the provenance of the flip chart, but it looked like it's part of a budget discussion or budget presentation of some sort, and it may have been from another government. So I was like, not a chance. But so my question is twofold. Like, what do we do if people give us information, and basically how do we deal with it if it comes up? Very hard to hear.
Yeah, I think it's important to note the context of the information. So we'll go into that discussion. But since Director Roth does have to go, we'll you should speak next. So go ahead.
Thank you. I just wrote this out. I first saw this information posted online, so it wasn't me that originally posted it. And when I asked where it came from, I was given a photo of a flip chart titled ACRD Taxation Strategies. It shows 3 possible taxation scenarios for funding the city's parks, recreation, and cultural services, involving ACRD electoral areas, Tofino, Ucluelet, and all Treaty First Nations. The population figures that are listed are accurate. I felt was important to share because these scenarios could have financial implications for Beaver Creek. At the time, I posted it on social media to hear what people thought and to start a conversation about the potential impacts. As someone who represents the best interests of the people of Beaver Creek, my role includes protecting those interests and ensuring that any decisions made reflect what is fair and sustainable for our community. I may have made a mistake by sharing the information, but at the time it didn't feel like a mistake. In other words, like, I didn't think there was anything wrong with it because I believed the information to be true. And I believed that it came from a city meeting and it made sense. I mean, the numbers add up. It matches what I see in the public. So that's why I did it. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Next up, we have Director Minions.
Thank you. That's the first time I've heard it said that the information was shared by someone else online first. I haven't heard that and I haven't seen that either. So I would actually be extremely interested to see where it was shared prior to Director Roth sharing it. From my perspective, I want to be clear, it was not a city document. A meeting was not had, and the matter is under investigation. So very curious if it came from someone other than Director Roth, previously seeing it online, if she could let us know where it came from. Thank you.
Go ahead.
It's actually, I can pull it up right now. Just one sec here. It's not a friend of mine, but it was first brought up, I believe, by Hayes Pina, Hazepnw, and they didn't post the pic, but they posted everything that was on the pic. Now, I mean, it does make sense that something like this would come from the city, but I mean, if I shouldn't have done it, then I apologize. I'm not sure if I should or shouldn't have, to tell you the truth, because if it's true information, then it's something we need to act on. Thank you.
Thanks. Director Minions, go ahead.
Thank you. I will just say that that is a fake account and one that has been subject to investigation as a result of making sexually explicit, voice videos about me and others, Gord Johns and many, like an extremely, extremely inappropriate account. I would really hope that before a director of this board shares something online that they would ask the city. I mean, we have really easy back and forth communication. Like Director Roth, you could have reached out to me. You could have reached out to Director Haggard. I would also really expect a significantly higher bar of where we're trusting our information from based on that being the account. So really concerned about that. And we do have active investigations with that account specifically for the extremely inappropriate content that they've been putting out. So that actually gives me significantly more concern if it came from there and Director Roth thought it was appropriate to share. So I think this discussion probably needs to be brought in camera at some point. I think we have a real issue here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Further comments? Director Haggard.
Thank you. Director Roth, you just said something that they didn't share the picture. So do you mind if I ask where you got that picture from? Oh, you said they didn't have the pic, they just had the information.
Yeah, and then I asked where they got the information from and they sent the pic. Okay. But also, yeah, probably it should go in camera. Thanks.
Okay, so just from my understanding, whoever this individual is or group of people, because it could be run by a group, posted the text of the information somewhere, and then you asked about it, and then they just sent you the pic. Okay, so that raises a bunch of questions on how those individuals got it. The context of the photo, I mean, it's nice handwriting. So I don't think it's anyone's notes per se, but it could just be whiteboarding with paper at that point. So I think the context of the information will matter. And I don't know if that's subject to privacy or anything like that. It might be. Okay, so go ahead.
Yeah, I like all the information on there is public information. It's just what else is behind it that isn't. If, like there's nothing on there that isn't publicly available.
Yeah, I guess whenever information is shared, no matter what it may be, the context in which it is shared, the implications made by the sharing of it, and whatever comes with that sharing, as well as the inferences that could be made from the sharing of that information, are all fraught with a lot of questions. And therefore, when we post information, it needs to be within that context of uncertainty as well. Part of the difficulty with this one, I think, is that it was posted in such a way that made it seem ominous, where if it was just brainstorming, that's different than if it's an actual plan. If it's just some guy working in his office or a small working group looking at options, but ultimately not even recommending them. Those are the kind of things where that context can matter. So it's like my notebook is not public information. It's a bad example. I'm not Daniel, but Daniel's, it's not, it's freedom of informationable. FOIPA is different than public info. So you can request Daniel's notebook. You'll get photocopies of it in a couple of months. And that's the difference, right? So some guy can't just come into Daniel's office and take photos of his open notebook or his calendar, because it might have private information on it. It might be just working group information that's not actually done yet, and so on and so forth. So the stuff that we generally see is either finished or often has the word draft or confidential or working document in the title. And that makes it different, right? But if it's just working material that somebody's working through in their notebook or in their office or in a small working group, because it's a whiteboard or a piece of paper, it might be like, in a boardroom as well. So all of those things still need to be determined, and whether or not it's information that makes it in the hopper to be considered or actually the plan. And I think that's the lack of information that feeds the beast, so to speak. And honestly, Facebook groups are the beast. They take it to the lowest common denominator for the most part, and we have to be very careful in how we feed information into that, because it's often interpreted in the worst way possible. And I think that's what's considered the most important thing to me, is that we always take the time to verify information first. And in that way, anything between jurisdictions should probably involve at least the chair in the sharing of it too. So we'll go to Director Roth and then to Director Minions.
I did make an attempt I sent it to Daniel, but I didn't ask him if I can share it or anything. I just asked him if he knew anything about it, and he didn't. So, I mean, that's fair enough. But I mean, I think I did make a mistake in this case, and I shouldn't have shared it. But at the time, it looked real to me. I mean, it's the way people think. It's the numbers looked right. Like, it just seemed real. So I do think that I made a mistake.
Those two things can be correct at the same time, though, right? So the numbers could be real. It could just be a working document as well. I work on a whiteboard too, and I've actually had people come in and look at it in my office in Anakla. I should update it actually, but like those are the kind of things that can matter, especially if they don't know the context. So it's not that you won't or can't, it's everyone else who may be affected by it. Sharing half a story or part of the story can often lead us down the wrong path. So we just have to be really careful. So I'd leave it at that for now before we go on camera, because I do have questions about who it might be. Director Minions, please go ahead.
Thank you. Just want to say I appreciate Director Roth saying that she thinks she made a mistake. I want to be clear that the very concerning piece of this for me is that Director Roth's post specifically said from a recent meeting with the city. And I don't have it in front of me. It was that rough wording. Might not have been that word for word, but that certainly gives the illusion from a director on the board of the ACRD that it's factual information that was shared with her that was discussed in a meeting with the city. And I think that's much larger than just sharing an image. I personally am disappointed that that image was shared without reaching out to the city or confirming its accuracy or anything else first. But even more so, based on the source, I think every single one of us on this board should be able to look at that source and have concern. So, taking that as fact is very concerning. Sharing it as from a recent meeting with the city is very concerning. And not coming to us first is really disappointing. So thank you.
Go ahead, Director Roth.
That's right. You got it right now. No. I did say, originally I said from the city, and then pretty quickly, I'm not sure it was an hour later, I changed it to I believe, but I don't know, whatever. Yeah. So anyways, that's what happened.
Okay, thank you for that. So normally speaking, we would go in camera to continue the conversation. Are we able to do that even though we do have a bunch of reports to go through? This is more of a question for Janice more than anyone. So how would that work for, yeah, go ahead, Daniel.
If I can jump in before you, Janice, because we lose the streaming when you go in camera, I'd recommend that we finish the public agenda and then when we do go on camera, go on camera. Otherwise, for the streaming purposes, we're going to have to reassemble, and it'll take longer for us to post on YouTube and or to put the whole assembled package back together, be more complex. So if we can finish the public meeting or meetings, because we have the hospital as well, we do have an in-camera portion, and then recording stops, and we don't have to try and reassemble afterwards. Would be useful.
Okay. Okay. Is there anything else anyone would want to think? Yeah, Janice just confirmed that's the right way to do it. So, okay. Thank you, Janice. Any further comments? Okay. Hopefully that helps. We can move on to the next agenda item. Could we have a motion to receive the verbal report, I guess? I don't know. It felt like it was kind of a verbal report. Thank you, Director Johnson, seconded by Director Roth. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Okay, motion carried. Thank you. Okay, so that brings us into, I believe, staff reports. Yes, they are 10.1 staff reports. Would anyone like to pull anything out of staff reports or receive the staff reports? I would go receive just because they're, yeah. Thank you, Director Cote, seconded by Director Coots. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. Okay, that brings us into committee reports. I would suggest that maybe we hold off on item B, but I was going to say Director Zenner. Heather Zenner did attend the accessibility committee meeting and can provide a verbal report. So if you'd like to do that, go ahead.
Thank you. Yesterday we had an excellent accessibility committee. That's a joint committee between the city and the regional district. Yesterday we had 3 presentations. The first one was from Sam Turcotte. He's the Assistant Deputy Minister with the Ministry of Social Development and Poverty Reduction. He spoke about the Accessible BC Act and the Provincial Accessibility Committee. And then we had Gord Johns, our MP, send Alex Hunter, his constituency assistant. And Alex did an excellent presentation on the disability tax credit. So I encourage if any directors or anybody watching has a family member or a friend with a disability to watch this presentation. So it really outlines what the disability tax credit is and the funding that comes with it. And then finally, we had David Calver. He is the founder of Society for Inclusion and Participation. He also does occupational therapy work for Island Health on contract, and he spoke about accessibility in the regional district and some of the challenges that people he works with are facing in the community, especially in terms of accessing wheelchairs. I will have a couple of motions that the committee did put forward, but I'll bring those to the board in a report in January. Thank you.
Is that accessing wheelchairs generally or accessing things in wheelchairs?
No, sorry, accessing wheelchairs. So you need to be assessed by an occupational therapist, and Island Health has struggled to find occupational therapists in Port Alberni to do the assessments. So it's becoming a barrier. folks can't
Okay.
get a wheelchair.
Okay, thank you for that. Yeah. Okay, so with that in mind, we're going to motion to receive the report. Thank you, Director Sparrow, seconded by Director Johnson for the comment. Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. That brings us to area reports. Susan, did you want to do Beaver Creek before you head?
I have nothing to report.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. Okay, so we'll go right up to item A, electoral area A, Bamfield. Director Beckett, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I already mentioned earlier on when we were discussing communications. Again, I'm just so pleased that staff are doing the best they possibly can to keep the residents and the communities of Bamfield and Anakla up to speed on weather, road, etc. Thank you.
Thank you for that. That brings us to item B, Beaufort. Director Boyko.
Thank you, Chair. Everything's going fairly good in Beaufort. I'm glad we did not have a bomb cyclone so far this year. Lots of concerns about upcoming taxation and increasing service levels. And I'm hearing that people of Beaufort are happy that they don't have service and they don't want any more services. So just want to keep that theme going as we move into the final year of this board working together in the financial area. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Area C. Kel is not here. Next up is Area D, Sprout Lake. Director Cote, please go ahead.
Thank you. Just like to inform the board that the Sprout Lake Volunteer Fire Department, one of the members is having a light up the lake on December 19th, 20th at Tall Timbers. So they've got all kinds of blow up, a lot of decorations. December the 19th and 20th will be events, I believe, starting at 5 o'clock. They will be having fireworks on the 20th. And hot dogs, chocolate. That's it.
Great.
My fire department.
Cool. Thank you very much. Next up is electoral area F, Cherry Creek. Dr. Sparrow.
Thank you for that. I've been reaching out to a lot of people in Cherry Creek what to do. Obviously, they got 3 picks today. There might be another one coming up. So I'm engaging Cherry Creek and get their opinions on what's going to happen in this election year and what they want to do for their services. So I can continue to do that. Other than that, things are going pretty quietly in Cherry Creek.
Okay, thank you for that. That brings us to item G, the City of Port Alberni. Dr. Minions.
Thank you. Our news is sad news, and that is that our CAO, Mike Fox, has decided to leave after a few years. He has been given a really fantastic opportunity as a CAO of North Vancouver. So while we are very sad to see him leave, we certainly wish him the best and are happy that he has been given such a big opportunity in a much larger municipality, larger staff and everything else. And on the exciting side, we have made an offer and he has accepted to our Director of Finance, Andrew McGifford, who will be stepping in as our interim CAO on a 1-year, just over a year contract. As you know, we are going into an election year. We didn't feel it was the right time to start a search, especially when we have someone as fantastic as Andrew, ready to step in and take over for Mike at this time. So we're leaving it to the next council to determine if they would like to do a search or look at an internal candidate for moving forward. But really excited to have Andrew stepping into the role. Of course, Andrew came previously from the regional district and has a long history working with the city as well. And we look forward to working with him in this new capacity. Thank you.
Heck yeah, Andrew. Okay. Director Haggard.
That was going to be my report. So thank you, Director Minions.
Okay, that brings us to District of Tofino. I think Director Steer is offline. District of Ucluelet, Director McEwen, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. We're heavy into budget season right now. That was part of the 6-hour council meeting last night, which I am just recovering from. And that's it for me. Thanks.
Well, thank you for being here then, because I know how it can be. Okay. Oh, I'm next. Okay. That brings us to Huu-ay-aht. So on the 22nd of November, we had our People's Assembly at the Alberni Athletic Hall. It went really well. I think the most notable thing that we had was a motion off the floor from the citizens regarding the Alberta, Canada MOU in regards to the pipeline and tanker ban MOU. And so our people were nonplussed by that. And so a very strong mandate was given to our government to support the coastal and pipeline First Nations in British Columbia, and that Huu-ay-aht would strongly urge everyone in the area to support the decision-making of the First Nations as they steward their lands and resources moving forward. So we'll be saying that often over the next little while, is that we're not necessarily opposed to it, but you got to get all these other First Nations who have rights there to say yes. So good luck. And I think that's pretty much it. Next week on Tuesday, we'll be signing a memorandum of understanding with the Ministry of Children and Family Development, which has been years in the making and is the result of a huge amount of work and is just celebratory on our part. So we know that this can be relevant for other First Nations that we're part of here, but it's just our Deputy Chief Counselor, Edward Johnson Jr. did a ton of work to get to the point where we're at, and it was looking pretty dicey for a while, and then we just turned a corner. So that's a feel-good information. The Huu-ay-aht offices will be closed from December 19th to January 5th, and in that time, I will probably be just chain watching The Lord of the Rings several times. So good luck getting a hold of me. So with that in mind, I think that's it for our report. So next up is item K, the Toquat Nation. Yeah, Director Johnson.
Afternoon. So Toquat had the last People's Assembly of the year this past Saturday. Part of the presentation was we're working on a community master plan and a housing strategy, so that's pretty exciting. Some good meetings out of that. We are closing our office on December 24th and back open on the 5th. And we are having our citizen community turkey dinner here in Burnie on the 12th. So I'll be back on Friday. And that's it.
Alrighty, thank you very much. That brings us to the Ho-Chuklussit Tribe Government. Dr. Coots.
Thank you, Chair. I almost feeling like I'm kind of copying at this rate. We too are looking forward to gathering together for our annual Christmas luncheon. We have made the decision to also kind of expand it. We did it last year and it was well received. So we have opened up our citizens Christmas luncheon to our staff and their families, and they all have a very good time coming and enjoying. We all meet together in Echo and always share a wonderful meal. We're looking forward to it. We too will be closed from the 19th until the 5th, and I myself am also looking very much forward to the holiday season and eating like a hobbit. So, back up to you.
Awesome. So if I crash the party, I'll see both Anakas there? Oh, wow. Okay. Hey, if we could have a motion to receive the reports, please. Thank you, Dr. Coots, seconded by Dr. Sparrow. All those in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion carried. All right, that brings us to item 10.4, member reports. Starting off with 911 Corporation, Dr. Beckett.
Thank you. The meeting was held on November 28th. All agenda items were received without question. One change, meetings from here on in will be moving from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. for a start time. And that's my report.
All right, thank you very much. Next up is VIRL, the Regional Library. Is that Director Boyko or Dr. Cote?
It's still Director Boyko until the new year.
Oh, yes. Okay, thank you.
No recent meeting, but we do have a financial audit meeting happening this Friday that I will be attending in the morning. And that should be the final meeting for Director Boyko. And then I can go back to Director Penny or Director Cote. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you. Next up is the Alberni Valley Chamber of Commerce, Director Minions.
No report, thanks.
Dr. Boyko as well.
No report either.
All right, thank you. That brings us to the AVICC, Dr. Cote.
Thank you. So we're getting ready for our convention. We have a meeting this Friday. We have a record 34 session applications. So that's huge. So part of that is our one from Colson's. And I'm recommending that that's actually more of a what do you call it, session for everyone rather than a breakout. So a plenary, yes, thank you. Also like to say resolution deadline is coming and the session deadline is passed, but I can still add more. I had a conversation yesterday with the two members of the health network, and they're suggesting that we have something more on health because I've seen the 34 applications, a lot on housing, and there's only one on health. So I'm suggesting that we bring in the health networks again. And Marcy and Deb Hamilton can come and talk about youth and health issues. The deadline for student delegate is in December. It's right around the corner. So I know that Alex Sam would like to go, and there was a First Nations youth as well that was interested in going from the Huu-ay-aht. Deadline is coming up, so we need to make that decision ASAP.
So that individual is little Andy Clappus, who is the heir to the Clappus seat for our hereditary leaders. I would note he's like 6'3". So don't know if he's related to the Cootses, but definitely skyscraper individual. And I think he's friends with Mr. Sam.
Yes.
So we'll see what we can do about getting that in as soon as we can.
So do we need a motion from the regional district to support this? Because there is a cost to it. The convention would be covered by AVICC, and there's grants available for up to 50%, I believe, of the costs. The convention is in Victoria again, or is it in Nanaimo?
No, Victoria.
Victoria, yeah.
Yeah.
So the cost is up there again. I don't know if we would be able to do two student delegates or just one.
I think Huu-ay-aht is actually a member of AVICC, so we might try to do it ourselves for Mr. Clappus, because there's no guarantee he can go depending on the timing,
Right.
because of school. I think he's still school age, but yeah, we'll figure that out and we'll act on our side. So I think that should be okay.
Okay.
Just to go with Mr. Sam. Alex? Sam? Yeah.
No, it's Alex Sam.
Yeah.
And there may be other funding sources out there that we could actually see if we could find. Thanks.
Cool.
But yeah, I'd like to make that recommendation that we send these students.
As a motion would be better because we're building budgets, and if it's a motion, then we'll build it into the budget.
Okay, so you just want to say Alex?
I'll make a motion for Alex and possibly another.
Possibly another. Okay.
Little-
Okay. Okay. Seconded by Dr. Coots. Any further comments? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. Okay, so next up is item E, Sawakin Public Advisory Group. Director Sparrow.
Thank you for that. The only report I got is they're submitting a forest operations map, number 16, as of today. And they'll be till January 9th. So they're still out there logging and getting ready for whatever else they have to do, but they're doing good. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Director Sparrow. Is there any other reports? Okay, seeing none, that brings us to, could we have a motion to receive the member reports? Thank you, Dr. Sparrow, Dr. Johnson. All those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the agenda. Before we recess for the hospital district and then go in camera, could we check the question period areas?
There's no emails received. Let me just check in Zoom. No questions, and there's nobody in the audience. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So if we get a motion to recess the meeting to go into the hospital district. Thank you, Dr. Coots, seconded by Dr. Johnson. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. We are recessed.
Thank you, everyone. I would like to call the December 10th Hospital District Board of Directors meeting to order. First, I'd like to recognize that we are conducting this meeting on the NCD traditional territories of the Hoopacheset and Shuswap First Nations, and we're grateful for the opportunity to do so. We also have directors calling in from their territories, and I would like to also acknowledge those nations and express our gratitude and our respect. Notice to attendees that this meeting is being recorded and live streamed to YouTube on the Regional District website. We have an agenda. Is there any additions from directors? Dr. Cote?
Addition, like to add Voices for Health Equity, UBC Forum, February 26th.
Okay, I'll put that under 11A. Thank you. Any additions from corporate officer? Nothing, thank you. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended? Moved by Director Coots, seconded by Director Sparrow. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Any declarations or conflicts of interest? Seeing none, we have minutes from the Board of Directors meeting held on November 19th, 2025. Is any errors or omissions? Seeing none, could I motion that the minutes of the Alberni Quickwat Regional Hospital District Board of Directors meeting held on November 19th, 2025 be adopted?
So moved.
Moved by Director Jack, second by Director Johnson. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. No petitions, delegations, or presentations. No correspondence for action. We have two items for correspondence for information. We have we have a local health area profile on the Alberni Quickwat area from Island Health, and we also have a Corcan Meadowood Residents Association, which is a member of the Regional District of Nanaimo Taxpayers Alliance. I would like to ask Heather if when we have a hospital district meeting, if she could invite our Chief Medical Officer for Island Health, if she could come and maybe do a presentation on this local health area profile and perhaps give some recommendations on how you start to reverse some of these numbers. Some of them are quite high and very disturbing. So that will give us something to work on and give you a guest speaker for an agenda item. Thank you, Heather. Anyone else want to bring anything out? Can I motion that correspondence A and B received for information? Moved by Director Johnson, second by Director Cote. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. We have the 2026 to 2030 provisional budget, and is Terry going to speak to this? Go ahead, Terry, please. Thank you.
Thank you. So presented for you today is the 2026 to 2030 provisional budget. It is a requirement of the Hospital District Act to have a provisional budget. The debt for the West Coast General Hospital is now officially all paid, so nothing owing. There was one small debenture left this year that is now off the books. So we're just continuing to build for the Tofino General Hospital. Even though we have heard at that last meeting there has been a little bit of hiccup in the process of getting that moving forward, I think it's still prudent for us to continue to build a bit of a reserve fund to offset some of those costs. So pretty straightforward budget. We will get a letter from Island Health in late January to talk about what their plans are for the year. I did reach out to them as they've had a lot of staff turnover and they are aware of our timeline. So we'll make sure that they have that letter to us by the end of January. So happy to answer any questions.
Director Jack,
I didn't have any questions, but I thought I'd move the motion, if that's okay.
please go ahead.
That the Alberni-Clayoquot Regional Hospital District Board of Directors give first reading to bylaw cited as Alberni-Clayoquot Regional Hospital District 2026 to 2020 or 2030 provisional budget number 140.
Moved by Director Jack, seconded by Director Cote. Any questions or comments? Daniel?
I believe there was a brief discussion on whether or not we can assign any of the funds that are there towards attendance on various training initiatives and meetings, and just was wondering whether now is a good time to flag that now that Terry is online. And can any of that budget be assigned, Terry? I'm seeing you say no, and that would
No.
clarify it. Perfect.
It's a bricks and mortar kind of situation. I don't think there's any operations aspect of it, but I can look into that before we do the regular budget.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Any final questions or comments? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Please go ahead, Director Jack.
I'd like to move second reading, please.
Moved by Director Jack, seconded by Director Sparrow. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Please go ahead.
And I'd like to move third reading.
Moved by Director Jack, seconded by Director Johnson. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Please go ahead.
And then finally, I'd like to move adoption of bylaws cited as Alberni Cloudcourt Regional District, Regional Hospital District 2026 to 2030, provisional budget number 140.
Moved by Director Jack, seconded by Director Coots. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. So now we'll go on to report. Banfield Health Center, Director Beckett. Please go ahead.
No report, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Director Seek is not with us today, so we'll go on to West Coast Native Healthcare Society, Director Cote.
Just they are, I'd say restructuring. Thank you.
Thank you. Tofino General Hospital, Director Steer is not with us, so we'll go on to Alberni Pequot Health Network, Director Cote.
Oh, Network is still, I think that the applications for recruitments, new recruitment is closing today, or I'm sure that it's pretty close to today. So we have, I think, 4 people names come forward, so we're looking forward to our next meeting next week. Thanks.
Thank you. And West Coast General Hospital. I have just been called to an urgent meeting at 5 o'clock today for the leadership of the help people in the community. So I don't know what that's going to be about, but it concerns me. So anyway, I'll let everyone know what happens. Any other reports? Got a motion that the Regional Hospital Board of Directors receive reports A through G. Moved by Director Johnson, second by Director Coots. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. No unfinished business and late business. Voices for Health Equity. Director Cote, please go ahead.
Sorry, I'll just look it up. I found the student deadline application is January 16th, so got a little bit of time. Register. I got an email from UBCM Health with an invitation to register for the Voices of Health Equity. There's panels from UBCM. It looks like a very interesting session that I think that this is something that perhaps Director Haggard and myself and Marcy DeWitt from the Health Network should attend. It's definitely what we're working on, equity, health equity in our valley. With the report that we just got from Island Health, I believe that this is a place where we could actually go and find out more information and start voicing our concerns about our community. Thanks. I'd like to attend.
Director Jack?
Do we move that she can attend from here? Is that a board thing or a regional hospital district thing?
I guess we have to find out where the money would come from. It would be very minimal cost because we would all get on the Hilo ferry because it is only half a day. So it'd be just getting to Nanaimo, going on the ferry and coming back. And is there a registration fee? Yeah.
Given what Terry said, I think you could recommend that we pull it from general governance on the board. So I think that's where we'd have to take it. The only other area that I think we could consider is when we look at our health network, because it's pertinent to the health network contract, whether there's funds in there, we could look at that. So if you move the motion to find the funding to send three individuals, we'd come back and just affirm that move forward. So whether it ends up being out of general governance or ends up being out of the only other contract I think that we could move, which is health network, it would be up to the board, but certainly a resolution to that effect would get us working.
Okay,
Director
I'll,
Jack?
I'll move that and then we'll discuss it with a special motion right after this
Okay,
discussion.
moved by Director Jack. Second by Director Cote. Any questions or comments? Director Coots?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just curious if I could be sent out to other directors as well for information. That would be really appreciated. Quick,
Okay.
Thank you. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Director Jack, you had a special motion?
I'm gonna do that when we're back to the board. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, question period. Any questions online, Heather?
No questions received online. There's nobody in the audience.
Perfect. Motion to adjourn. Moved by Director Coots, seconded by Director Sparrow. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Welcome back, everyone. I'd like to do a special motion to add some travel permission to go to the health event referred from the hospital district. Can we have a motion to do that, please? Thank you, Dr. Cote, seconded by Dr. Johnson. All right, all those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. Okay, so the motion, what should the motion be, Director Haggard?
I was just going to ask a question. Director Coots, you seem to be interested. Would you be available to attend as well?
Thank you, Madam or Director Haggard. I am unsure for my own scheduling at the moment. However, this could be quite beneficial for some members of our staff who may have already received it, just wanting to cover due diligence. Thank you, though.
Okay, so the original invite came from UBCM Health mailing list. Okay, so should the motion be to direct that staff use money from the general account?
Just a motion to fund, up to 3 of our members to attend, ACRD members to attend the session.
Okay, would anyone like to move that? Thank you, Director Johnson, seconded by anyone? Thank you, Dr. Coots. Any further comments? Okay, all those in favor? All opposed? A motion carried. Thank you. Okay. Thank you for that. It's a weird interaction between the hospital district and the board, especially when it comes to these kind of items. So getting to that's probably going to be important. And if all it costs is travel and like one meal, I think that's worthwhile. Okay, so we are reconvened. We've just done that. We'll say that that was a part of late business, but before we go on camera. Okay, so I would like to move that we close the meeting to the public as per the community charter under sections 91I, the receipt of advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, and 91A, personal information about an identifiable individual who holds or is being considered for a position as an officer, employee, or agent of the municipality, or another position appointed by the municipality. And those would be the reasons why we close the meeting to go in camera. I'll move that. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Dr. Coots. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor?